Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the ultimate Cleveland sports show. G. Bush is stuck in traffic. And he is slowly making... I mean, what is happening here?
I see a body. I see a body.
What is happening here? Who knew there was so much traffic in Cleveland?
He sent me a picture of traffic.
G. Bush sits in more traffic than anybody I know. Here he is.
What do you think the chances
Dustin gets in his seat late.
I was in the restroom.
Tyvis, he's always here on time.
You know, I try to do it. I'm punctual. You know.
I mean, just yesterday, Mike and I had a phone conversation.
You gonna be able to mic yourself?
And I was telling Mike I was critiquing everybody on the show, myself included, right?
What you critiquing?
I'm not going to say everything. Nothing was terrible. It was all little things that I was saying to Mike going into the new year. Here's a little thing about me. Here's a little thing about G. Here's a little thing about this one. Here's a little thing about that one. Blah, 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 blah.
Paul was doing peer reviews.
I was just,
He was.
I was just sharing my thoughts with Mike.
Yeah, he was.
Doing peer reviews earlier.
And then of course the next day, and one of the things I said to Mike, and I broke something I said to Mike today.
Yeah,
You did.
I said to Mike, it's ridiculous. We're all getting here too late. Everybody should be in their seat no later than 10:50. And I was the
I
one
would
who
say
said
10:55.
No, 10:50.
That's fine.
That's my opinion. At the latest. And then I broke that rule today.
I know.
Now, I was still in my seat before you and G. Bush, but still. I broke it one day after I said, Mike, we should do this.
I was in the parking lot at 10:30.
So get out of the car.
I was just killing time.
Let's go.
I mean, I got the screenshots, man.
Screenshots of what?
Screenshot.
On my mythical traffic.
He did send me a picture of traffic. He sent me a picture
Don't play with me.
of traffic.
And then,
Did you call it mythical?
mythical traffic. I was insinuating it was mythical traffic.
Mythical traffic. I said, no. Yeah.
Steve just went right before G. Bush said he had traffic. Steve was like, I didn't have any traffic coming in from the east
I
side.
traveled the furthest and I did not hit traffic.
Yeah, I was on this other highway, like it ain't multiple highways.
What highway did you take?
I was right downtown. I was getting off 480 to Toledo, and I was like, yeah, this is right in when you get here. Let me take my screenshot.
And by the way, another one of the critiques I had for myself is that I shouldn't bring up behind the scenes stuff, which I also just did now. That one was.
This is the appropriate time to do it.
This was appropriate because there was no other way around it because we weren't all settled in at 11 o'clock. But nevertheless, two of my self-criticisms I violated in the first day.
These are the things that you look to improve on in the new year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know how your New Year's resolutions, you really go.
Yeah, it's a 3-month thing.
Yeah.
Or a 3-week thing if you're lucky.
Exactly.
2 1/4.
Exactly.
That's a lie. That's a lie because I've made a New Year's resolution and I stuck to it.
Like what?
I told myself that I wouldn't take a nap. I haven't taken a nap in 2 years.
Did you often nap before that?
No, not really.
That's
That's
not
not
the
the
Hey,
point.
bro, time is
No, but that's just I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Hey, Dustin, man, you need to. We might need to work on your balance, bro.
What you mean?
You have this thing.
Look who's talking.
Yo, I
You
should
be up
know.
all through the night on YouTube going down rabbit holes. What are you talking about right now?
You, my good sir, you don't take vacations or naps.
You don't either.
That's
I don't take
wild.
You-
Like that's like since when is mental health and taking time out for yourself a bad thing, or even possibly refreshing yourself by a nap?
Listen, it's two things that African Americans don't have time or money for, and that's think about how you feel.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
See, I'm trying to work.
You
with
absolutely. G is right that you need to take vacation.
I'm working with these young fellas.
But I don't know about the nap. The reason you take naps is because you sleep like a vampire. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, like you know.
The reason I take
your
naps,
sleeping habits are crazy.
The reason I take naps is I'm clinically diagnosed with insomnia.
Rest when you did, man.
I do take medicine, so
I took a nap yesterday for the first time in like a year.
See?
It was great.
you just passed out in the middle of the day.
No, I was just tired, and it was like one of those days. Yesterday was a terrible, gloomy Monday.
It was.
And I got up at like 5:30. I went and played tennis for like 3 hours, and I got back, and I was like, you know what? I don't crap to do today. I'm gonna lay in bed.
How long did you nap for?
Like 2 hours.
That's not
That's
a nap.
long, though.
That's not
I feel like
nap.
I only nap when I'm sick.
Kind of basically went back to bed.
Yeah.
Y'all,
I only
great.
nap when I'm sick. That's it.
I don't-
great.
See, I got my body's trained that if I start to feel tired, like I start standing up and doing stuff. That's how I avoid going to sleep.
All right.
And if I take a nap, my wife she says, I'm not gonna wake you up because I don't sleep regardless. So if I just pass out and just give up, she just got this blanket. She follows me with it. throws it over me. I wake up and I'll be fully clothed.
The Beth. I'm like Mike Tyson. Yeah. The best naps are when you take you fall asleep for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you wake up and you feel like, I want to go right back to sleep, but then you grind through that 3 minutes, and then you feel totally refreshed.
Yeah.
No, the best naps actually was back when you have a lot to do, and you like, man, I got so much to do today. Like, I got to do this, and that, and then you take a nap. It's the best thing ever.
Man, or me and Dustin have talked about it.
It takes your work. You're not stressed out for that little nap.
Me and Dustin have talked about this, Tyvis. The worst nap in the world is you wake up
and it's like
and you look around and you playing a sport and you wake up and it was daytime and you wake up and it's night. And you're like, I missed everything. I missed meetings. I missed lifting. I missed study tables. I missed everything.
That's the scariest
winter
thing in the
nap,
world.
bro. That winter nap when you fall asleep at like 3:30 and it's light, but then you wake up at 5:30 and it's dark, and you don't know if it's morning or night.
AM or PM. Yeah.
I tripped so bad. Nobody woke me up. Or you wake up, your alarm is going off, and it's blinking 12. You missed everything.
I did that in high school.
You missed everything,
Missed it all.
Well, we got a lot to get to on today's show. Dan Devine is going to join us. He covers the NBA for Yahoo Sports. Although every time I hear the name Dan Devine, I think there was the old Notre Dame.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right. And because from Rudy, the name kind of sticks in your head. Also, Aditi Kinkhabwala, later in the show, she'll be on the broadcast on CBS of the Bengals-Browns, which I believe has become the first game in the history of the NFL. I'm not 100% sure about this, but it has been scheduled for 3 different networks. It was originally Thursday Night Football on Amazon. It got moved to Sunday at 1 o'clock on Fox. And then yesterday, or 2 days ago, it got moved, I think it was yesterday, it got moved to Sunday, still Sunday at 1 p.m., but now on CBS. And that's how Aditi ended up with the game. Bengals, Browns. Bengals, I believe, are a touchdown favorite at home. So we'll get to that later. We'll talk about the Cavs, we'll talk about an easy win last night. The Cavs, they were down 12-5 to start the game, and it seemed like they scored 50 points in a row after that, pretty much. So an easy win over the woeful Nets. And we'll get to that, talk Caris Levert. But first, we'll send it to Mike and discuss quarterback. What else?
Let's do it, guys. We'll hop into today's show, which is, as always, sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. That first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Bull Kevin Stefanski has yet to name a starter for Sunday. He said he will take some time to make a decision on who will be QB1 against the Bengals. It could be Jameis, it could be DTR, and heck, let's throw Bailey Zappe into the discussion because I think there's actually a chance it could be Bailey Zappe. It's up to you 4.
Yeah.
Who should be, not who will be, but who should be the starter for the Browns against the Bengals on Sunday?
You know what the saddest part of this, guys?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. That's the saddest. I feel like they all feel kind of hopeless. We know what Jameis is, and the other 2 guys, I'm not that intrigued to see, but we got to have an answer. So what is it, Dustin?
The answer is DTR.
Okay.
And it's not even close. I mean, it's the only option that makes any sense at all, and here's why. DTR's under contract for 2 more years. You got to see what you have in this guy. We sort of know what we already think we know about DTR, but that is to be determined. Like, the guy's still a young enough player where he could develop into something. I'm not betting on that, but we know what Winston is. Winston probably gives you the best chance to win.
I will say from this perspective, as a Bengals fan, and the Bengals still have playoff hopes, obviously, long shot, but they're still alive, I'd rather DTR play.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's my point,
is
that Jameis gives you the best chance to win the game.
Right.
The wins and losses at this point don't matter.
They don't.
In fact, the loss would actually help the team. So the way you lose the game, without saying you're losing the game, is you play the young quarterback because you hopefully can gain something in terms of intel about the kid.
And Tyvis, as you go here, obviously, if you're going to start DTR, this is a good week to do it because while the Bengals can score, their defense is very bad.
Yeah. I think that, first of all, they've been wanting DTR to get some playing time this entire Jameis experience. I think they've been kind of plotting on his downfall just a little bit. I don't mean to say it like that, but you know what? You catch my drift.
Well, to your point, but when Watson, remember the week Watson got hurt, DTR was the second quarterback. Winston had been dropped.
Well,
to
that's
3,
because
so.
they were going.
Yeah.
I felt like they were probably going to go back to more of a Kevin Stefanski offensive approach, which I still going past this season. That's a question that they got to ask themselves. Are they going to be more Ken or more Kevin? I think this team works better when you go Kevin if you got a run game. Right now we don't have a run game, so that's why Ken's stuff is working better. But to Dustin's point, DTR is the only person that's going to be on this roster past this season, outside of Deshaun, but he's not even in this conversation right now. So I think you owe it to yourself to at least give him 1 week, full preparation week. I hate the fact that they haven't named one. I'm hoping that that's just something that you're doing to the media, because if you sitting there and you giving reps, first team reps to Jameis, to DTR, and to Bailey Zappe, and then on Thursday or Friday you're going to say, oh, you know what, we're going to go with DTR. Well, heck, you've been putting him in that same situation the past, he had 4 starts, 3 out of the 4 starts, he's been in that same scenario. So I hate the fact that they do that. Just give DTR his 1 week. Hey, you're the starter, you're preparing, you're taking all the first team reps. Let's see what you got. Because I think we need to see that. The last time we seen that was the Denver game last year. He looked like he may have started to turn a corner, but then boom, he gets injured. So it's, to this point, he's been in the league, 2 years now, and we really don't know. I guess we kind of got an idea, but we don't really know what he is. And if the season's lost anyways, and the Cincinnati defense isn't that great to begin with, then I think, you go give them a chance, because every time you've thrown them in the fire, it's been against Pittsburgh, it's been against Baltimore, all these teams with these tough defenses. Give them a chance to go out there against a team that's struggling defensively. That way, after this game, you give him this full week, you know your answer. The most part, you'll have an answer on what you think of him as a starting quarterback, and I think that's the best move moving forward.
I'm starting DTR because I not only want to find about DTR, I want to find about Kevin Stefanski, because I'm tired of giving these blank checks to Stefanski. Does he really get the best out of quarterbacks? Well, you put DTR in.
Well, Ken's calling the play.
Hey, listen, he's in that offensive room, right?
What?
He's in the is Kevin not part of the plan no more?
Who's the quarterback's coach?
They don't have one.
They don't. Who is
I
it?
thought it was Ken.
It's Dorsey.
Why do the Browns not have a separate quarterback coach?
So are we saying now that Kevin has nothing to do with the offense?
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that, but you can definitely tell that this is more of a Ken's style.
So what I'm saying to you is, all right, we heard all year long that it was Watson. We heard before that it was Baker. Well, listen, I just saw you with Jameis Winston. He throwing picks. We'll put DTR in. DTR go in for 3 games. Let's see what he can do. You can't coach him up. You can't get him to play. Let's see what he got. If he's bad, then I'm going to need to ask myself, what makes me think that all of the quarterbacks that y'all brought in are terrible and it's not your fault? I got to evaluate you. Like, I don't know why there's
talking
just
Kevin on this.
I'm talking to Kevin. Why is it a blanket Kevin is cool or Dorsey it's cool? No, your quarterback play has been terrible for 2 years. I mean,
Joe Flacco
throw just as many picks as what Winston.
Not as much Winston.
Hey, listen, hold on.
I'm not about to see you let you do that.
No, it's not doing that.
Hold on.
Do that.
He didn't throw 2 pick sixes in the playoffs?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Right. But overall,
3? He didn't throw 3 in the playoffs?
But you say he threw as many interceptions.
How many picks did Flacco throw?
He had 9 last year. Winston has 12 this year.
Okay, how many games? Who played more games?
Flacco did, didn't he?
Are you including the playoffs?
I'm including all that.
Third one as a starter. So he played 6 games if you include the playoffs.
Okay, how many Winston did throw? 12 in how many games?
It's about the same, actually.
All right, fair enough.
My question is
how many touchdowns?
For Flacco last year?
Yeah.
1 second.
And I was the Flaccavelli guy.
Yeah, you were.
Still am. I like Flaccavelli.
You want him
back?
They
just throw picks.
You take him back?
No.
Okay.
Listen, I'm willing to get rid of the whole.
That's what I said.
Flacco had 13 touchdowns, 8 picks.
Okay.
And what's
That was the
Jameis?
regular season, and then if you had the playoffs, then he had 3 more picks.
So if you added up playoffs with the regular season, he hit 13 and what?
Fair enough.
Did he throw a touchdown in the playoffs?
I don't remember.
I remember.
It's
He had
irrelevant.
He had essentially
don't matter.
13 and 11.
It don't matter. G's right. It's about the same.
G's
yeah.
about, yeah. He's
about to say. So for me, I need to figure this out because guess what? We need a quarterback. And we need to have somebody evaluate whether or not these quarterbacks are good.
Yeah.
So play DTR.
Before, just a sidebar off of this. When you guys played in the NFL, you had correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a defensive backs coach, right?
Yeah.
And then underneath the defensive backs coach, wasn't there a separate safety coach and cornerback coach?
So
Well,
you can go first if you want.
It depends on certain rooms. You had a corners coach and a safeties coach. Yes. But then you had teams where you had just one guys to have an overcharge, but they have assistants, if that's what you're saying.
But there's at least one guy on every team who's just for the defensive backs, and in a lot of teams there's two.
Well, there's usually a corners coach and a safeties coach.
Yeah.
Okay, was that your experience also?
Well, it was different. A couple places that I was at.
Yeah.
Except for San Fran, we had.
When I was in Buffalo, go ahead, sir.
In San Fran, I just had Jeff Halfley.
So there was just one.
He was corners
DB
and
coach.
safeties.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dustin, your
When I was
case.
in Buffalo, George Katopoulos was our safeties and corners. He's a secondary coach.
Yeah.
When I was in Philadelphia, we had a corners coach and a safeties coach.
Right.
At the time when I was in 07, John Harbaugh was working with the safeties, and like McDermott was working with the corners. And the previous year we had a different corners coach. But like when I was in Minnesota, my first year there, we had a corners and safeties coach. We didn't even have a specific secondary coach. Right. So it just depends on the organization.
For the most part, it's a corner and a safeties coach. I'd say about 80% of the league.
So most teams at defensive back have 2 coaches for the defensive backfield. Most.
Yes.
And obviously they have a minimum of 1 plus the defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Why on earth, for the most important position in football, would you not have a solo quarterback coach where that's his only job? Most teams do it.
Well, because usually the quarterback coach is usually the offensive coordinator, so you want your quarterback. It's a lot that goes into the fact that trying to relay the same message, the message can get lost if it's going through different people.
But couldn't the same thing happen if there's a defensive backs coach and a safety coach?
It's happened before, and you know what happens?
Yeah,
we gonna meet together.
Okay, so Mike, I don't know how easy this is.
That's
to find
happened
out.
before. Actually,
I'm looking up different. Like the Bengals have its own quarterback coach.
Yeah, I'd love to know what percentage of teams actually have a quarterback coach, because it would make sense to me to have a quarterback coach in addition to the offensive coordinator. I don't know why they can't be on the same page.
I really think it's because of the message. They want the message. If I'm the OC and I tell the quarterback coach something, and he puts his own spin on it and tells that quarterback something, like it might get lost. But if I'm the OC,
the same thing could happen at every other position where they have a coach.
I think you're really making something out of
no.
Not a big
I think you're reaching both.
Yeah. So it's like this. Think about if they just said, all right, well, we got McNuggets. Give us another producer. But this producer is going to come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
But McNuggets has assistants. Earl and Anthony are his assistants.
I'm sure the Browns have other coaches that are working with their quarterbacks that aren't going to be titled on the web. You know, what I mean, like there are tons of guys around coaching these players.
But Earl, they're not assistants. They have different positions.
They're co-producers.
They're producers of different things. Now, well, here's the thing. But think about it. If those producers, Mike sends a rundown, and then Anthony sends you a rundown. Like, nah, dog, this rundown over here, I think we should change block C. You're like, hold on, Anthony. When did we start changing blocks here?
I'm fine if you guys say I'm making something out of nothing. That's fine. I'll let it go. But I don't accept, because a couple of you have made the same argument. I don't accept that, because every other position group has an assistant coach. Why wouldn't that happen there if that's such a problem?
Because those other positions are not as intricate and detailed as quarterback.
All right. Okay.
Well, and the other thing, too, is now Stefanski's not calling the plays. Like, he's sort of your quarterback coach. I mean, he's the guy that's going to be involved mostly with those guys more than anybody else. So you now have 2 guys. One guy who played quarterback in the league. The other guy who is, basically cut his teeth calling plays, being a quarterback coach, working with quarterbacks. So I don't know that you have to have somebody else on the team. I mean, obviously there's more than one way to do it because other teams have different ways of going about their business. Right. I just don't think this is something that's going to be the reason why the Browns are X, Y, and Z.
All right, fair enough.
Real quick, this is actually I just went through 15-ish coaching staffs on NFL.com.
Yeah.
Some have specific quarterback coaches, some don't. The Browns actually have a guy named Ashton Grant. Are you familiar with who that is?
Nope.
I do not know. Never heard of him.
He is listed as an offensive assistant / quarterback specialist on the Browns staff.
Yeah. All right, so they do.
So maybe they do have.
There's
all right, fair enough.
I was sitting there listening to the post game sound on Sunday after the game as I'm doing the post game show,
which I was listening to, by the way.
Yeah, you were. Shout out to
I
Bull.
texted. There's some caller who called, said the stupidest thing. I don't remember what the caller said.
I forgot to.
But the caller said something so dumbass. I text Tyvis and Jeff. I'm like, hang up on this friggin' guy. This guy's an idiot. I don't remember what it was.
Is that we got that when I got Bo had said the same thing. He was like, when I seen him yesterday and did the radio show, he was like, "Do y'all got to take every call?" I'm like, "Well, if it's on the thing." But anyway, so I'm listening to post game and I'm listening to sound, and I like obviously Kevin Stefanski talks first right after the game's over, and I'm listening to him talk about. They was asking him about Jameis throwing the picks and all those things. And you can hear the frustration, which is the first time, he's pretty calm, but you can hear the frustration in his voice about, he was like, yeah, he's not supposed to do those things. I don't know why he did that. Like, usually he don't say stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then the funniest part is we listen to Jameis. And Jameis, they asked Jameis about the interceptions as well. It's the first time Jameis lost his cool on it. Like, he was frustrated about the stuff because he's like, this is the thing. Y'all don't see it the way that I see it. Like on the first interception, he was like, "Okay, they ran a disguise. I didn't understand it was a disguise, so I threw a pick and blah blah blah." He said the last one, he said I threw it to a receiver. He didn't come back to the ball, and that one got picked off and things like that. And it was funny because I was listening.
That's a lot of excuses, right?
I was listening to his reasoning, and then I thought about Kevin's reasoning about how he's like, Jameis knows he's not supposed to do those things. He's got to stop trying to force it, like all these things. Not saying that's what he said, but that's basically what he was saying. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, like, it's a disconnect there because I understand why Jameis saying what he's saying, but I also
do. Yeah, you're okay with the excuse?
I understand.
I don't consider it an excuse. I consider
it's explanation.
Him telling you why he did it.
Yeah, like I understand why.
What's the excuse for that first pick? He was like throwing a Hail Mary on that play.
He said that they was in the disguise. He thought that it was only a 1 high safety. He didn't know that it was a 2 high safety. So
wasn't his job to know?
When he threw it,
of course it's his job to know. But he's acknowledging he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When he threw it, he had no idea this other safety was coming.
But Tyvis, you made it seem as if he was getting pissed at the media for the questions.
Yeah, he was like upset. Like you could tell he's frustrated with the whole thing, and it was like
frustrated with himself or with the question.
Both, a little bit of both, because he was basically like to me.
Have you ever made a mistake that was so obvious to you? And someone asked you about
that's what it is.
And you're like,
it's like
you're like,
he made it
this
seem
is exactly what happened. And like, I don't need you to ask me about it because I know I effed up, and this is why.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of how I took it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like y'all, he frustrated that y'all don't see it the way he seen it. Like that's it. Like y'all don't even understand. Like that, they made a good play. Like y'all don't even acknowledge the fact that
they showed a great disguise. They fooled me into throwing an interception, which is not a good thing to do.
Right.
And that's why it happened, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that I seen both parties kind of like disgruntled a little bit, and I was like, okay, that's
that's gonna happen.
But they got it. But like, it's crazy that this has been a thing for weeks, and they still not on the same page. Like that's the part that I don't understand. Especially if Kevin ain't calling plays, if he is back in the quarterback room, like. But I don't. But then again, I guess he did try to do. What was the game after the Denver game where he kept skipping balls off the field and stuff because he was like trying not to throw picks and he was overthrowing and all those.
So Tyvis, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What quarterback has been on the same page with Kev?
Which quarterback has been on the same page as Kevin?
Yes. DTR don't even know when he's starting half the time.
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett, if my mind,
Case
goes
Keenum.
back to that, Jacoby Brissett threw some interceptions too.
Case Keenum.
There certainly were times. Listen, Baker and Stefanski, until their last year, obviously were on the same page. He was on the same page with Flacco. Flacco liked playing for Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
But it's been, there's been plenty of times where we've heard Kevin Stefanski, not just with quarterbacks, where we've heard Kevin Stefanski say something and a player say something else, and you're like, what's happening? That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
Jacoby, he had 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and some spot duty. That's a 2022.
And for him, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
guys, I know we're talking quarterbacks here with
Yeah.
Stefanski, and we're trying to put a blame on him. Like, to me, obviously that's a big part of this, is the quarterback position needs to play better. But the bigger issue we have to deal with now with Kevin Stefanski is what we're watching on the field and his team. I think he's losing his team, which is something we've never really said about Kevin. I mean, you look at the Saints game, and you look at this past weekend's game against Kansas City, a game that, you could have won that game. The Chiefs gave you every opportunity to win the game, and yet you couldn't get it done. The team basically quit, I thought.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you do going forward, because I don't know that this team has a leader of the ship.
It doesn't appear to be. We were talking about it yesterday, should you fire Kevin Stefanski? And real quick, Mike, before we switch it up, the four of us who were here yesterday was Jason and Jay, and for you two guys, and we were all a little on the fence about it. Even like Jason and I have been two big supporters of Kevin Stefanski, and Jason's been the biggest, really. And even he said, hey, I wouldn't fire him, but I understand if he gets fired. I understand if people want to fire him. And I'm on the other side of the fence now, where I'm like, I understand why people want to keep him. The continuity is important, but I just don't have enough. When I make the good and bad list on Kevin Stefanski, I think the bad is past the good.
Yeah, the only problem with this, if you fire him this year, it's not necessarily a great year to be getting a coach, because you've got teams that are going to be out there that already have things in place. Like, who's not going to want to go coach the Bears? And you got a quarterback in place that looks like he's going to be good.
Right. If the Bengals fire Zach Taylor, which I'm hopeful, but I don't think so.
I mean, there's opportunities out there that are much better than Cleveland, which is an uncertain situation at quarterback and the front office and our ownership. There's just and it's Cleveland.
I hear you, but I don't know that it's good. I don't think that's a good enough reason to keep Kevin Stefanski. My concern is if they do get a young quarterback, which I'm not sure they're going to.
Well, and I don't know if Kevin can coach a team through another year like this where he can keep things together.
Right.
He's already shown in the last several weeks that things have started to fall apart.
Exactly. And then if you fire him mid-season, then that's just a mess next year. Correct. All right, we'll get back to the Browns in a little bit. Let's talk some Cavaliers.
Yeah, let's get into some Cavs talk after a quick word from TNT. Guys, it's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, leading into the first matchup, SMU versus Penn State at noon. Then it's Clemson looking to upset Texas in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. The Cavs crushed the Nets yesterday. It was not very close. The Nets started out 7-0, and then we're down like 70-10 in about 7 minutes. Yeah. So we're going to tie a topic from the game into a bigger discussion. But, guys, Caris Levert made 6 threes yesterday, and the first half was absolutely electric.
He scored all his points in the first half.
All his points. Yeah. If Caris Levert plays like he did last night, maybe not hit 6 threes, but plays to that level, can any team really beat the Cavs? Is he kind of their X factor and how good they can be? If you get good Caris Levert, you're elite, and if you don't, you're beatable. Is Caris Levert kind of that shifting, sliding variable in the Cavs' kind of ceiling and championship chances?
I would say he obviously when he plays like that, he gives them a better chance to win. But to say nobody can beat them if he plays like that, I don't believe that. Boston's the better team.
Do they?
I think we know that.
When you say team, who does Boston have off the bench? Pritchard?
Peyton Pritchard's going to win 6 man, or his favorite.
Yeah, don't they have another white dude that comes off the bench?
Sam Hauser.
Sam Hauser, right.
see, that's the thing. Honestly, if Caris Levert plays like this, but see, it's
we
not.
know he's not going to do that every game.
I know, but the question is he an X factor in a deep playoff run? I would say I kind of expect him to play somewhere, maybe not 6 threes. Maybe I see him in the 12 12, 13 points range off the bench.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think who I think is the X factor when it comes playoff times is actually George Niang, because if that dude plays like he's been playing, that's another big that's off the bench that spaces the floor. I think Caris and Ty Jerome is pretty much going to be who they are. I don't think it's even though I know Ty Jerome stuff, shout out to Earl. Even though I know Ty Jerome stuff, it says
Cooled
that
off.
at some point he's gonna go
Well,
off
he
the
has.
cliff. Whatever.
Well, not off a cliff necessarily.
It's
but
not what it was.
He's cooled off.
Right.
You know.
But I think that where we lack at, because obviously the rotations tighten down a lot, is when Mobley or Allen comes off the floor, where are you getting that scoring from, like big wise? And George Niang was he was unplayable last year. And I think it really hampered the rotation. So I really believe, to answer your question, yes to the Caris Levert, but I truly think it's George Niang.
I think it's going to be great to have Levert playing at a level like this in the playoffs, because let's be honest, you said it, Bull. I mean, you got to beat the Celtics, right? The Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. If we get to an Eastern Conference Finals against them, or it depends on when we would face them in the postseason, you need guys to play well. I mean, Caris Levert's a guy who could go into a playoff game and could give you 20, 25 points.
Now, he
wouldn't
give you 50.
You wouldn't even bet your head.
He could definitely be the difference between them winning or losing that series.
100%. So to answer Mikey's question, yes, he absolutely could be an X factor. He's playing with the most amount of confidence I've seen him since he's been in Cleveland. The guy was a very talented player younger in his career, in Indianapolis, and I just think he's starting to really come into his own. The team as a whole is playing a style of basketball that gives him opportunities. And he is making the most of them right now and playing with a lot of confidence.
Gee.
Man, I'll compare it to spades, man. If you play spades, it's the Joker, deuce, and then it's the ace.
Talk about it.
Now, when you look at the Cavs, you know who the big Joker is off top. It's Donovan Mitchell. You know who that second Joker is. That is now Evan Mobley. Then you get to the deuce, right? And the deuce, to me, is the most important position on this team. And for me, it's always Darius Garland. And the reason it's always Darius Garland is when you match up with the Celtics, it's a bad matchup for him. You got Drew Holiday, bigger, more physical. You know what he likes to do. Derek White, bigger, shoots threes, good defensive player. They can switch off on him. They can shut his water off, getting to the rim, and he has trouble finishing over length. So for me, Darius Garland has always been the guy that if he shows up, you have a completely different game. You got to, because now you're not counting on Jared Allen doing that much crazy work. Then whatever you get from Caris Levert, you cook it now. Okay, that 17, 18 from Caris Levert can be devastating to a team. But I can't say that Caris Levert is going to be the ultimate X factor, because, say for instance, Caris give you what he gave you last night. Donovan give you what he traditionally give you. Evan give you the 21 like he give you. If you get Darius Garland that gives you, he goes 3 for 20
Didn't he
and
do
get
that
11
the first
points.
time they played the Celtics?
Yeah.
He went 3 for 21 the first
If
game.
you go 3 for 20 and he get 11 points and 2 assists, you losing.
What we
I don't
lost-
care what
we
I don't
lost
care
by
what Niang
2?
them get.
Did we lose by like 1 or 2 that game?
Well, you got to just assume that he's not going to be that bad at any game.
I didn't even think about him because I assumed that we was past.
By the way, good stat I tweeted about the Cavs today. They only 2 games. They've played, 27 games?
27, correct.
They've scored 110 or more points in 25 of their 27 games.
You want the flip side of that real quick, Bull? They've also scored 130 points 7 times in 27 games. That's already a franchise record.
I mean, we're at the 1/3 point of the season, and they've set a franchise record for 130-point games. That's crazy. They haven't scored less than 101 all year. I think the team that's second with, not scoring below 110, I believe, is Memphis with 3, and then I think Boston with 4.
You mean to tell me J.B. Bickerstaff held them back all these years?
I mean, to a degree. Now, let's be fair to JB.
He's doing a great job.
Took him, well, let's not get crazy. I mean,
he's doing a great job.
The 11 seed in the
He's
East,
sort of
Mike.
fit for that type of
Yeah,
role.
for the start over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He held them back scoring wise all these years.
He was a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
He's talking about no, he's not doing a tremendous job in Detroit.
Wait a minute.
It's just
y'all,
He's
y'all
doing a
need to
pretty
stop
damn good
that.
job
Hold
with
on.
Detroit.
Yeah, but they've
Let me
lost like
see.
7 of the last 10. He got off to a good start.
Pull
They
them
won last night,
stats.
yes.
Pull them stats up over there on that
Detroit 11-16. They in the 10th spot
Now, that's probably better than they were last
If the playoffs
year.
started today, they'd be in the play-in.
They had the worst record in
Yeah,
basketball.
11-6. That shows you how stupid basketball is. That a team that's 11-16.
They won
can make the
14
playoffs.
games all last season.
Yeah.
They got 11. He's done a good
They-
job.
I mean,
y'all need to cut that out. Y'all tripping now.
That's
probably would've
That's why we don't like the
with any
media.
coach.
Y'all
That's
out of
why.
line.
That's that media talk, Tyvis. They be making. He's doing tremendous job.
Well, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't say that.
When
He's
he said-
2-time coach of the year, Stefanski.
Yeah, that's right.
Two
Two
times.
times.
Not one,
The
but
Levert
two.
question,
Wow.
On
Where do you
Levert
fall on the
specifically,
Levert
well,
X factor?
you asked 2 questions because first you said, is there anybody that can beat the Cavs if Levert plays that way? And the answer is definitely yes.
I agree.
Because Boston and Oklahoma City can both beat the Cavs even if Levert's playing at his best.
Yes.
But clearly Levert can be an X factor. I think if Levert is playing his best basketball, that could ultimately be the difference in why they win a series against Boston and Oklahoma City. But it certainly doesn't lock them up or even make them the favorite. Especially against Boston. I mean, Oklahoma City, we'll see if they get to the finals, if the Cavs get to the finals. Anything short of the Eastern Conference Finals this year is a massive disappointment. We know, unless something weird happens, the Celtics and the Cavs are going to be 1 and 2 in the East. I think that the Cavs are, I believe, a game and a half up on Boston, and then I think it's a 6-game drop or so till third place with the Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks are 6.5 behind Cleveland.
So I mean, the Cavs are going to finish worst case scenario 2 most likely. Obviously, it's a long way to go, so anything can happen, especially if there's a lot of injuries. But it kind of feels like the Cavs are good enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but maybe not good enough to get past there. It would be a surprise to me if they didn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it would be a little bit of a surprise if they beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Right now, maybe that changes.
I've been watching some ball, and I'm gonna throw this out there. When it comes to the playoffs, this stuff gonna look a lot different.
Oh yeah.
Like we happy with the 23-4, but let's not get it twisted. The Atlanta Hawks play you well. They play you very well. I'm still mad about them losses to the Hawks.
Back to back.
Them back-to-back joints. I don't like that. Second of all, the Milwaukee Bucks is playing good basketball all of a sudden.
They come here on Friday.
They playing good ball all of a sudden. The
Milwaukee is in 5th now. They was almost close to the bottom.
You got the Knicks is now they 6 back,
They
but
in
look,
third place.
they got a new team. They got a lot of new rotating pieces and parts, and you know how it is to fit that together. So they'll be better by playoff time. So I'm not gonna get it twisted. You got 4 or 5 seeds that I think is gonna be viable. I still always look at what is the Pacers doing this year?
The Pacers are 12 and 15th, currently the 8th seed.
They're weird.
They're weird.
They're not playing as fast as they did. They're starting to play faster again, and they've been better as of late. But they're still trying to figure out a lot of their rotation.
So yeah, like we doing. This is why I say
I don't want to hear about no Pacers. You lose to the Pacers.
What happened to
That's a
Philly?
disaster.
I mean,
That's
but
what
the
I wanna
Pacers went to
know.
the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't care.
last
That was
year.
last year.
So
What happened to
I thought you had to
Philadelphia?
prove it 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, that's true.
No, all I'm
They
saying is
stink.
the Cavs should put the pedal to the metal, and they should want to get home court advantage throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, that'd be big, especially obviously against Boston, especially. I mean, they would have Eastern home court against everybody else, but I don't know Levert. But you know that Levert he's always been an inconsistent player. I agree with Dustin. I think he's playing his best basketball.
Can I give you something on
For the
Levert
Cavs.
that's completely changed his game this year?
Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson touched on in his post-game press conference last night because he actually coached Caris in Brooklyn when he was a rookie. If you look at Levert's shot chart, he's taken 5 mid-range jump shots all season. 5, that's it.
Interesting.
Caris
That used to be his
Caris
game.
Levert lived in the mid-range. Now, as an entire team, their philosophy is layups and threes. It's just like the rest of the NBA. They try to eliminate
Everybody has the
mid-range
same
jump shot.
philosophy.
But I'm just saying, they've made an emphasis on it. That
Yeah.
was something that Darius has improved upon, Donovan's improved upon. They've tried to take it out of the game. and the Cavs in particular.
Yeah.
Kenny has gotten Caris to buy 100% into, if you're going to attack, get to the rim.
Yeah.
Don't stop. When you stop in the middle,
Right.
either the defense can close out on you, it's going to cut off your passing lanes. You don't do nearly as much damage and don't instill as much fear in the defense when you stop in that 18-foot area. If you go, go. And Caris has completely bought in. I have his shot chart up now. Like I said, 5 attempts all season, 27 games, 5 mid-range shot attempts. Everything's
What's
beyond
considered
the arc.
mid-range? Out of the paint?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
7 feet on the left or right side and anything past 12 feet above the foul free throw line, in between the three-point.
All right.
So he's taken out those low percentage, low efficiency shots, and that's why I think we're seeing the most consistent, best version of Caris Levert we've ever seen in his career.
Yeah. And when it comes to playoff time, it's going to come down to, as it always does, who's healthy.
Yeah.
Cavs are healthy, they can win it all.
Because Niang,
Well, we still haven't seen Max Strus.
we ain't seen. He be hurt. Caris Levert be hurt a lot. Dean Wade be hurt a lot.
And Dean Wade, we talk about an X factor. Depending on what the Cavs, if they're able to acquire another big guy, a swing player, a wing player, if they're able to acquire one. But if not, Dean Wade is really like a
way more
pivotal
valuable
piece
than
for them.
he should be.
He is, but he's the least reliable in terms of injury on the team, which is weird because he's like big guy, tough guy.
He be having weird injuries. He'd be like, yeah, what's up with Dean Wade? He got sick. Dang, you were sick for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, man, you got, man.
Do you think that if it was OKC and the Cavs in the final, that outside of Cleveland and Oklahoma City, the rest of the world would view that as a not appealing final?
Yeah, ratings would be terrible.
You
for that.
think so?
I mean, I don't care, but what do I care?
That's
but
crazy.
First of all, NBA ratings are
down anyway.
in the tank right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of older fans, I've been saying this for years,
shoot threes.
that people my age and older are finding the sport boring. And I've always said, but it doesn't matter because young people love it. Well, maybe that's changing too because what?
Me and Jason are going to dive into this on the Cavs show tonight. Social media has changed the way people.
Oh, so the ratings are down because people are just watching on social media?
They just listen.
But that doesn't help but that's still that's not good for the NBA.
I'm not saying it's good, but the ratings are way down. It's because people just go on Twitter and check out the highlights from the game. They don't have to watch the whole game.
So they only do that, but that's not good for the sport.
Why?
But it's not bad for the sport, is it?
I'll say
well, it's bad for the sport in the sense that the sport makes a lot of money off the TV contracts.
That's right.
And if the contracts are not proven to be valuable, like people aren't watching the games. Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but eventually it could make the product worse. The players won't get paid as much. I mean, it is what it is.
That's fair. But
that's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen in 10 years. It could happen, maybe in 10 years. But
yeah.
I contend that numbers are cyclical, depending on where you have them at, who's playing at a given time. Those things, you have to have a large group of data to say, all right, this is a trend here. Give me 20 years and I'll tell you if it's a trend or not. For me, Mike is right. There are a lot of people that just simply go on YouTube and you can watch a whole basketball game on YouTube
in 6 minutes.
In 6
Are there
to 10
facts
minutes.
that back that up? Why would they not be doing that for football and baseball too?
Well,
I don't want to give away my entire thing for the Ultimate Cavs.
Okay.
So I'll try to parse it down. But basketball blew up on social media. It is the easiest sport to follow via social media, and people today in basketball, more than in the NBA, in the NFL, and Major League Baseball, they care about the drama more than the actual games. They are more enticed by what LeBron did or what Steph Curry did in their podcast or when they went out to dinner than what actually happened in the game. And that is perfect for the social media era. And these kids today, and the Cavs are not the best example, but they just follow LeBron or they follow their favorite player.
Right.
They're loyal to a person, not a
Well,
team.
we've been saying that for
a
years
fact.
too. That young people, that basketball fans, way more than football and baseball, there's a lot more fans that are about player as opposed to team. Whereas football, and especially baseball, but football really too, it's more about the team than the individual players.
Yeah, the other thing with the NBA, and this is not the case in other sports, is you really only got to watch the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Or at the very least, the last quarter.
Period. I mean, you want to know what the stars are going to be doing, right? The stars on any given night are doing.
Yeah.
And then you want to know, if your team won. Well, if you want to watch the most important part of the game, you watch the last 2 minutes.
But in the end, the league,
Can't you say the same thing about
maybe
football?
the league may not be less popular, but the
ratings are down.
Ratings are down, and the league cares about that. I don't care about it, but the league cares about it.
And the NBA does, like, for example,
yeah.
Donovan scored his 20 points against the Celtics in the fourth quarter. They win that game, right?
Yeah.
The NBA social media account tweeted out, relive Donovan Mitchell's performance in 90 seconds. You don't have to watch the game to see what Donovan Mitchell – if you're a Donovan Mitchell fan, you're not going back. I got to tune in to see what –
Right.
They're going to tweet it out in 90 seconds.
But not to mention, so not only are the Celtics and Oklahoma City, relatively small market teams, they also don't have, as good as Donovan Mitchell and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are, they're not big stars in the grand scheme of the NBA, either of them.
No, there's not an American star right now that's on the of the upcoming next generation.
Yeah.
Like, the next big stars are all international.
Right, but even the older guys like Durant and Curry and LeBron are way more popular than, SGA and Donovan.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
I just think you're talking about Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it is. That's the
talking about like legends that's the best to ever do it. They up there.
And that's another thing about basketball. This Hall of Fame sucks. It's the most embarrassing Hall of Fame ever.
Wow.
That is true.
I think
you're
really quickly on the media thing.
Yeah.
Like when people talk about ratings being down, like look at it from the vantage point of a cable company. Like, yeah, the ratings is down, but it's still one of the biggest draws that you can get. Are you going to say, oh, your ratings fell 4%, so we're not going to give you $1 billion or $10 billion for the rights to broadcast these games? No. They're going to still give them up because
but
the money has gone up. Show me a contract where the NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball got less money than they had previous contracts.
COVID.
Yeah, but that's
you asked me that.
No, but that has nothing to do with ratings.
But that had to be. But the money always goes up.
Like that.
You're
COVID,
right.
COVID is devastating.
But if this trend continues over the next few years, then maybe the next TV deal won't go up as much as it would have.
I will believe that they lose money when they.
I'm not saying they're losing money. Don't get me wrong. They're not losing anything.
Because I heard the NBA talk about the NBA deal, like the deal, and then they signed the deal, and I was like, I thought you guys were going to lose this.
We're not even going to be talking about TV deals in 10 years. It's going to be a whole different deal.
Yeah,
The NBA will have their own way to get the content out there.
You'll have a chip in your head, and they'll just.
If I'd have told you 10 years ago or 5 years ago that we'd be watching NFL games on Christmas Day on Netflix, you'd laugh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so
or
Jason
that we'd be making our careers on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Jason and I are going to dive a little deeper into that tonight on the Ultimate Cavs Show. It's going to be at 6 o'clock tonight, so make sure you guys tune in. Let's get back to the Browns real quick. If you want to check out the Browns' last home game or either of the Cavs' home games this weekend, they play Milwaukee on Friday, Philadelphia Saturday, and then they have a home game on Monday before hitting the road for a while. You can use the Game Time app to buy your tickets. It's the easiest way to buy tickets online, and they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier than ever before. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With the Game Time Picks app, you get all-in pricing, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Make sure you get the best deal, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
So we were talking about some of the lack of discipline the Browns have shown the last couple of years under Kevin Stefanski in terms of their penalty problems. And, Steve, if you want to take this graphic full, I pulled up the overall amount of penalties and where the Browns rank each season since Kevin Stefanski has been the head coach. And this is their rankings. This season, they have 102 penalties. That's tied for sixth most in the NFL. They do lead the NFL in pre-snap offensive penalties. Last year, 115 penalties. That's tied for second most. 2022, they had
a great season last year, with the second most penalties.
2021, they were seventh most. In 2020, they had the eighth most. So they've always been in the top third of the league in terms of penalties under Kevin Stefanski. With two former NFL players and a Division I player on the panel today, I wanted to ask, are pre-snap penalties and are penalties in general, is that more of a player problem or is that more of a coaching issue? When we put the blame and we say this is Stefanski for these guys being undisciplined, is that actually fair or is it more of a player issue?
I'll put it on the coaches first because it's the coach's responsibility to understand what your players can and can't do. Like if you feel like your players are smart enough to be able to go out there and execute these motions, these shifts, and knowing when you got to be on the line of scrimmage, like attention to detail, well, then that's on the coach and that's on the GM to have the right players that you feel like can go out and execute.
Yeah.
There are walkthroughs for a reason. There's reasons why these things are gone. You go over them all the time, and when you have these penalties happen in games, I look at it and say, the number one thing that bothers me is it's a lack of attention to detail, and that's on the player. Okay, the coach should go into the game feeling confident that the players can go out and execute, and when they don't, it's a kind of a combination of both things. I think it starts with the coach, but then on game days, you can't point to anybody else other than the player. And then when the players don't execute the simple stuff, the attention to detail, then it becomes kind of an organizational failure to some degree.
Yeah, I just have a problem. See, from my vantage point, military coaches are just like, I don't even know how I survived. I was just like, listen, thank God that.
Look at the hat I'm wearing right now.
Right.
Okay. The big weekend for the midshipmen. Okay. Great win over Army over the weekend. Watch those guys play. Man. There's a shift. There's every play. You don't know who the heck's got the ball. And you know what those guys don't do? There ain't a lot of false starts. There ain't a lot of, pre-snap penalties, motion shifts. It ain't happening.
Our coaches came from Air Force, and it was like, I remember, shout out to Coach Grove. I don't know where he at now, retiring with that big bag of money. But, when you deal with military coaches, they got it down to a T. Like, all right, meeting start, right, at what, 5 minutes? No, you got to be 15 minutes early. Like, you getting penalized for that. You getting penalized for they got a ruler out for measuring how high your socks is. They got a rule. You can't stop putting all that crazy stuff on your tape. There's like, you got one word. I don't want to see graffiti on your wrist. Like, it's just like certain colors you couldn't wear. And there was always things that you were just freaked out about because they hammer it into you since you get there. You're like, listen, we will not jump off sides. If we jump off sides in practice, we'll just run the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole, like, and the first time it happened.
Because why practice anything else if you can't execute the little shit?
I thought it was BS. I'm like, these fools up here. I come from McKinley. We ain't about to be running for what? Like, they jumped off. Man, it happened, and we ran the whole practice. And I was just like, oh, these dudes is crazy. Yeah. This is real, Tyvis.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at things like Jed Wills, and people say, oh, Jed Wills plays just perfectly fine.
Who said that?
Hey, well, I heard it for 4 or 5 years. Oh, he's just average. We just used to Joe Thomas.
They said that after year one. That's what they said.
Hey, so I'm looking at it this. If you want to jump off sides, you know what I'm going to do? And you got to be able to willing to stand on it. If you jump off sides or you got a false start, I'm pulling you out of the game, and you're going to sit for a quarter. I don't care if you start. Quarter.
I do think that the punishment has to be hard. First of all, before I go into detail, McNuggets, do you stutter?
Do I stutter?
Yeah.
No.
What? Why did you type R twice?
There you go.
Secondly, all right, thank you. That's been bothering me. But no, I do think that if there has to be a sense of fear of the coach. Like, and to me, that's the problem with a lot of younger coaches is that they come in and they want to be friends and all those things, and players take advantage. They're not into.
There's no reverence.
They're not. There's no attention to detail, like Dustin's saying. Like, there's no. You know what? I can toe the line. He's cool. Like, that's my buddy. We're cool. But if it's a coach that come in there that's laying the law down, it's like, you know what? Let me be on top of my stuff. If I fear for my job, like, I can't go out there and line up off sides. He might literally pull me out the game, or I might not play for an entire week. Like that's type of stuff going on. So let me lock in. Like, that's the thing. And I just think when it comes to discipline, like, it's just I think they just let people get away with stuff just a little too much. It's just a little too much.
So if y'all don't play, just because you don't play, does that mean you still get paid, right?
If you get suspended, you don't get paid.
So if you don't get suspended, you don't get paid.
Correct.
Right? So that's the only way you can lose a game check,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Can you get fined?
Yes. For by who? Yeah.
So say, for instance, I can, as a coach, be like, and I can make it excessive, right?
No.
You can't.
No,
Because the
NFLPA will get
Okay,
at you.
so what, is there a a limit to it? Like,
I'm sure that there is.
it's like 15.
Yeah, it can't be like an egregious
All right,
amount.
so if I say you jump off sides, you owe me 15.
15,000 or 1,500?
1,000.
You wouldn't get away with that.
Yeah. That's not happening.
Okay, so
They ain't letting that roll.
Can I get 10?
They might not let that roll.
I don't think that this amount, the amount of money that you'd like to
you
take away
you
from
get
a
like
player, I don't think
2,500
you
maybe.
You can do that.
Okay, so that's like the amount of money that you want to be punitive.
It would hurt
not
you.
gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, so here's what I will say. Since you can't really hurt their pockets like that, the only thing that you can really mess with a player with is that playing time.
Man.
That's it. That playing time.
And if I can embarrass you, because I'm gonna tell the people, I got a rule. You jump off sides, you gotta sit, dog. Then I see you after halftime. They'd be like,
Because at that point, the money doesn't matter. Like,
At
your
all.
teammates are going to look
But
at you and
see-
be like, "This guy's a clown. He's on the bench because he can't follow instructions."
and you sitting there
But
and
see,
you're a starter.
the
Yeah.
problem with it is the reason why it's so hard from a coaching standpoint to enforce it is because let's say that's your starting left tackle.
Bye.
The backup left tackle, now you costing yourself a game.
No.
Now you're going to cost yourself your job.
No, here's the thing.
It's a tough
It's
balance. man.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a very
but
tough balance.
I understand, like, from a coach, I'm 30 now, so I always put myself on both sides of the argument. I can understand from a coaching standpoint, like, you can sit for a quarter. I can't sit you for the game.
No. I just want to. It depends. I can get you for a series. I
Yeah,
get you
that's
for
what
a
I'm saying.
quarter.
Like, if a running back fumble, he's out for he's out for 2 series. That's just what it is.
Linemen would be totally upset at me because I'm like, you know how embarrassing it is when they say, "Come over, let me talk to you real quick," as you running off the field for false starting.
What's the rookie receiver we got? Did he the one that lined up off sides?
Thrash, yeah.
Yeah, did he line up? Did he get all sides penalty or so? He did like the
I do
Kadarius
believe
Toney.
Thrash got called.
Guys,
for it.
let me.
But my thing with that is, like, that's wide receiver 1-on-1. You get on the line, the first thing you do is look at that referee. Hey, am I good? I'm on. I'm on. And he gonna say either up or back. Like,
Guys,
how do you not do that?
Let me cut off this whole conversation for a minute with this because we're talking about, is it coaching, is it players? Would we agree that Atlanta, New Orleans, and Jacksonville are all probably fairly poorly coached teams?
Atlanta, Jacksonville, New
Orleans. Or at the very least, their coaches don't
They're
stand
not
out.
I would
great
say,
teams
yeah,
in general. I don't watch them enough to know that they're, how.
All right, they're second, third, and fourth in least penalties.
Okay.
Would we agree that Harbaugh is a great coach, Baltimore? John.
Of course.
Yes. He got a whole
Second most penalties called.
He got something.
Only Dallas has one more penalty called than Baltimore.
Okay, sample size.
So, what do you mean?
Harbaugh's been coaching how many years?
They were Baltimore was top 10 last year in most penalties.
So here's what I'm saying.
I'm saying, so maybe it's not coaching at all. Maybe it's all the players mostly.
Could be. It's a new day and age.
If Harbaugh been coaching, well, I got
What's Pittsburgh's, out of curiosity? We're Pittsburgh.
This year, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The Browns have only had 4 more flags thrown on them than the Steelers have. And we know Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the league. Browns have had 115 flags against, including ones that were offsetting or declined. They were still penalties. And the Steelers have had 111.
Let me give you this. If I play at OU,
Yeah.
and I come to the coach and say, Ohio State, they're in the top 10 in penalties. Actually, to be truthful, they got way more penalties than us, Coach. You know what my coach is going to say?
You ain't at Ohio
You
State.
ain't Ohio State. You're not as good as them. They can afford to get penalties. You can't, buddy.
Okay.
They got Lamar.
great point.
They got Lamar Jackson, and he could bail you out. Is Lamar Jackson walking through this? You got Jameis turnover Winston. It's a culmination of things. Think about it, but we just talked about it. It's not only are you one of the most penalized teams, but you also turn the football over the most. You also have the worst special teams. So when you take it and look at it in a vacuum, And you say, well, listen, we're not that bad here. You say, well, you're top 10. You're top 5 in that. You're top 3 in this. That ends up at 3 and something.
It's funny that this is the conversation we're having in the middle of December on a show talking about the Cleveland Browns. We're arguing about
who's to blame for the penalty.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I think one other thing that's interesting, and the category I think I blame the coaches more are the pre-snap penalties. Because that's just discipline. That's just focus, right? As opposed to
you blame the players more?
No, I blame the coaches more on pre-snap because that means to me players are not prepared or they're not locked in. I guess you could say that's on the players.
Yeah, sort of on the players.
But if you look at the teams with the most pre-snap penalties, they are mostly bad teams. The Browns by far the most pre-snap penalties. Tennessee's 2, they stink. Chicago 3, they stink. Green Bay 4, they're good. Minnesota 5 is good. But then Dallas, Carolina, the Giants, the Jets, Miami. So 8 of the top 10 pre-snap penalty teams are bad teams.
I guess the main point here is when it comes down to it at the end of the day, when you don't have a good team and you don't have the horses to go compete. You played the Kansas City Chiefs this past Sunday, right? A team that's won multiple Super Bowls, back to back, right? I mean, they're a dynasty. Mm-hmm. To beat them, you have to do every freaking little thing right. Extra attention to detail.
Right.
If you can't do that, how the hell do you think you're going to even be in the game?
No, that's fair. You're right. Like, yes, the Chiefs don't get called for a lot of penalties.
That's why this is such a bigger story
but the Ravens can overcome
with this team because if you can't do the mother stinking little things right, how can you do anything right?
It's a fair point. It's time to bring in our first guest of today's show. It is Dan Devine from Yahoo Sports. After a quick word from FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Dan Devine from Yahoo Sports. He's a senior NBA writer and a co-host of The Big Number. Dan, how you doing today? Thanks for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Dan, I'm sure you've been asked this before. Are you related to the coach, Dan Devine?
No, I'm just an old Irish guy. So there's a lot of us out there. Very, very common name.
Is Devine? I didn't realize Devine was such a common name.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, you learn something new every day when we're doing the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Got you. Got it. And I'll tell you what, where my neighborhood was like an Italian Jewish neighborhood. I grew up in Brooklyn. So you live in Brooklyn. What I was told, right? Is that true? Go.
That is true. I'm in Flatbush right now.
Of
grew
course
up in
you
Bay
are.
Ridge. Of course I am. Where else would I be?
That's New Brooklyn. That's where you're not from Brooklyn originally, right?
No, I grew up in Bay Ridge, man. Went to St. Anselm's. Yeah, I grew up here.
Really?
Look here. There's other people in the world that went to Brooklyn.
Look at that. You grew up in Bay Ridge.
That's exactly right.
No, the largest city in the world.
Tell me some more about growing up around Italian people. Like I didn't do that. Come on.
No. Okay, then you'll get it.
I love Dan so much right now because he's giving you shit.
I love it.
Nobody does.
That's because he's from Brooklyn, so he knows how to give shit. But I love it because the reason I was explaining is because if you're not originally from Brooklyn, you wouldn't know. But so you live in Bay Ridge or you grew up in Bay Ridge, you know that when I lived in Sheepshead Bay and then when we played in the Little League playoffs, we would play Gerritsen Beach. I mean, that whole neighborhood, everybody, you have to be Irish or you can't live there.
That's exactly right. They check your passport on the way in.
100%.
But I don't know that that's necessarily like a broadly applicable thing for the Cleveland sports audience. So you want to talk some Cavs?
Oh, he's giving me the business right now. He is giving me the
golf clap.
That was well done, Dan.
Yes.
Go ahead. You guys start off. I need a breaker. I need a break. Give me a beat down.
Dan, last night, Caris Levert had an unbelievable game with shooting. Do you think that's something that could be sustained for the rest of this season? Because ever since he's gotten back with Kenny Atkinson, his play and a lot of other guys' play has went up, but him in particularly, he's been more consistent. Is this something that you think will hold weight when they get to the playoffs?
I mean, the biggest question for everybody on the Cavs is where it is in the playoffs. But all you can do is set up a system that gets guys operating to the top of their talents. And that was certainly what Caris Levert had when Kenny Atkinson and him were together in Brooklyn, ladies and gentlemen. But getting Caris where he's comfortable operating, he knows where his touches are coming from, he knows where his shots are coming from, and he's empowered to create. I think that there's no reason to believe that a player with his talent, with his skill set, his ability to pull up off the bounce or spot up off the ball, he can get these shots and he can knock them down at a high clip. And then that's sort of the bigger thing about everybody on this Cavs roster right now. It feels like everybody knows exactly what's expected of them, how they're going to be empowered to contribute to this offense. And on the defensive end of the floor, there's just sort of more collective belief in what's being done on the offensive end. And I think it's certainly translated into what you've seen, one of the best starts in the NBA this season.
Is Evan Mobley making the jump that everybody had talked about, when he was drafted by the Cavaliers? Like, this guy's going to be X. He's got to be the best player on the team. And I still don't know if he'll be the best player with Donovan Mitchell on the team, but he's certainly become the second best, I think, this year. What do you think about his growth and development here?
Well, first off, that sounds like one of those good problems. If you're not sure if Evan Mobley can be your best guy, there's worse places to be. I think the interesting thing there is the sort of uniform understanding of how Evan Mobley was going to develop. It was, well, he's not going to be a real serious player until he's jacking up threes like crazy, right? And the three-point rate is up this season. He's about, I think, twice as many per 36 minutes as he was last year, and he's knocking them down at a 40% clip. But it's not like everything has been all about that. Rather than trying to make him into a different player, Kenny Atkinson has just kind of turned the volume up on the stuff he already did, being a connective playmaker, somebody you can throw the ball to at the top of the floor, and he's going to direct traffic, pick out someone to come up for a dribble handoff. Or increasingly this season, I think the biggest drive, or there's the word, the biggest jump for him this season has been in his driving. Twice as many drives per game as 2 seasons ago, about 2.5 more than last season, and he's feeling comfortable facing up, taking his defender, saying, I'm quicker than you, I'm longer than you, I'm going to get to the rim and be able to finish at a high clip. And once you've got that with his passing, with his vision, and with the increased confidence in his shot, you've got an all-star. And that's what he's looked like through the first 27, 28 games of this season. And it sort of just elevates the floor for everybody else because it makes it so much harder to sag off on the defensive end, to muck things up for Garland and Mitchell. I think Garland being healthy this season has been a huge part of that too, because you have another dangerous off-ball player, draws the defense away from Evan, gives him some more room to create. It's basically everything you could ask for, with the exception, I guess, of Max Strus getting healthy. Everything else you could ask for has gone about as well as you could hope for in Cleveland, but Evan Mobley certainly near the top of that list.
Dan, we look at this Cavs team, and I look at traditionally in the past where the Cavs were really good. They had the 66-win teams with LeBron a couple years. They ended up losing to the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. You take a look at some of the teams where you thought the Cavs would get out of the first round a couple years ago with the Knicks. I guess some people's fear is that they play very well in the regular season. They get off to a great start. They might even get the number 1 seed. But they get to the playoffs, and it looks like the other teams are like, oh, that was just regular season. This is different. And the Knicks show up with Jalen Brunson. Or you get a feisty Hawks team if they make it in. Or you take a look at some of those teams. What would your, I guess, reservation be, even if they look great in a regular season, about them possibly not getting to the pinnacle in the postseason?
Sure. Well, the good news there is that it's no longer a question of you don't know what the level of physicality is going to be. You don't know what the level of competition is going to be. We've gotten a couple of dry runs now, right? There was the disappointing series against the Knicks. There was advancing past Orlando, seeing what the Celtics brought to bear in the second round last season. The concern would be, from my perspective, you're still a little bit unsure where your answers are on the wing, at the 3 spot. Who connects the dots between the Mitchell-Garland backcourt and the Mobley-Jared Allen front court? Do you have the right player who's like the big wing defender that you also trust out there on offensive possessions in a playoff series? We've gone down this road with Isaac Okoro before. Max Strus, obviously we haven't really seen him be able to be part of what the Cavs are doing right now. He has some difficulties sizing up and then also making shots in last year's playoffs. So those questions, obviously, it's not easy to go get one of those guys. Those great Cavs teams were great because you had a really good 6'8" answer at the 3 spot, no matter what, who you could just throw the ball to and say, we're going to feel pretty good about what we're going to get out of it. It's a little bit tougher to do when you don't have the foundation of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or, in the West where there's, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but also guys like Jalen Williams and some of the other size on the wing, some of the other teams that have had some success there. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done. Everything's impossible until you watch it get done. And what you're seeing from the Cavs is there's so many guys who can knock down a shot, who can create with the ball in their hands, who know how to move without the ball, and who are sort of believe in getting collective belief in what this system's supposed to be. You combine that with a defense that can stand up against some of these best offenses, and you got a shot against anybody. There's a lot of sort of these playoff projection systems that'll say, we think this team's got an X% chance or whatever. There's one I really like by a guy named Taylor Snar, a website called dunksandthrees.com. And right now he's got the Cavs at about 10% chance of winning the title. That's third in the NBA, right behind the Celtics and the Thunder, right around 15%. That's not a bad spot to be in, and it passes the smell test, right? We've seen this team go into tough situations and either knock a team right in the mouth or be able to handle what that team's thrown at them and keep themselves tight late. So I think everything's sort of impossible until you see it happen. That would be my concern in the perimeter there, but they've been able to solve a lot of problems and put themselves in position to be in that conversation, which I think is a huge step forward.
Dan, in terms of getting better, the Cavs are kind of in a tricky spot. They're slightly over the first apron. We had Brian Windhorst on last week. He said, I don't think they really want to. I think they want to wait till next year to go over that apron. They don't have a lot to trade, obviously, because they can't trade a first-round pick till I think 2030 something. 2031,
and they're over the luxury tax, not at the apron.
I'm sorry, over the luxury tax. So, what do they do here? If you were the GM and you were talking to Dan Gilbert, would you try to talk him into spending more money and going up even further and dealing with the consequences later? Or would you kind of be patient and say, okay, the Celtics are a little older, maybe in the next couple of years? What would the game plan be?
Well, first off, hearing that you guys had Windhorst on, now I've only got the second best head of hair in the last couple of weeks, so that's a bummer for me. That's tough for where I'm at right now. I think the answer is, if I'm Kobe Altman, it's always go see if you can get some more money. Go see if you can get that guy. I mean, if there's a way to, I don't see a pathway to it or an easy pathway to it, but you can go get Jimmy Butler, right? You can go make that big swing on that guy who fills exactly the hole I just talked about. Yep. Then you go into, you put yourself in a position where you walking into a playoff series saying, we got answers everywhere. And, it's really difficult when you've got a team this good operating at this high a level. There is no guarantee you will get back there next season or 2 years down the line where you say, let's just keep our powder dry. That said, I think all of the moves that Kobe Altman and that front office made over the summer, with the extensions, with the way the way that they've sort of positioned this roster, they've given themselves a several-year window to compete with some opportunities and say, well, if they come short up this year, they can look at it and say, maybe we revisit what the market is for a Darius Garland or a Jared Allen. If they decide they run into that ceiling and they've got to make a dramatic pivot, I wouldn't be surprised if right now they looked at it and said, this is something special. You don't want to mess with something good. We get Max Strus back. That answers some of our questions in terms of another shooter, another guy who can defend multiple positions, and gives us more options on the wing. We keep rolling with what we've gotten out of Caris Levert. Ty Jerome has been a godsend as a third guard there. We've got a lot of ways that we can play. Let's find out. Rather than saying, say maybe like the Thunder last season, we're not going to go and make our big swing now. Let's get this group into the heat of the fire and see what they turn into, and then we can make a decision past there. But for me, I'm a little antsy. I would look at it and say, if I got an opportunity with a team this good, get as many chips as I can to push them in the middle and see how far I can go.
Dan, do you consider Donovan Mitchell in that top tier of stars in the NBA? We've had this discussion, I think 2 weeks ago, we were ranking the best shooting guards in basketball, and I think there's a case to be made for Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell. How do you look at that position and where Donovan fits in across the entire landscape of the NBA?
I mean, right up there at the top. I think the only thing that's holding him back from consecutive All-NBA selections is that he didn't have enough games played last year. He was playing like an MVP candidate through that stretch in December and into January that really turned the Cavs season around. And when you got into that series against the Celtics in the second round and everybody's injured and everything's falling apart, there was one guy on the floor who looked like he could be able to go up against everything Boston had to throw at him, and it was Donovan Mitchell. So there, and that is, sort of going back to that question of what are you missing in a playoff setting or in a final series. It's just the question of, can a smaller guard be the top dog on a championship contender. It's relatively rare in NBA history. For the most part, you're seeing in this era a lot of bigger wings be that guy. I don't know, though, but, when you see Donovan Mitchell out there cooking, he don't look that small to me. So I feel like the combination of what he can do in the pick and roll, what he can do as a pull-up shooter, and the fact that he's been more comfortable this season saying, I don't need to be touching the ball on every possession. I can space out. I can be a threat to catch an attack. He's somebody he's given you everything you would want as far as what a leader on the offensive end can be, while also playing some of the best defense of his career and really contributing to a high-level team on that end of the floor. So it doesn't get a whole lot better in terms of the whole package than Donovan Mitchell, and I think he's shown that basically since he got to Cleveland, but certainly these last couple of years by changing his game and evolving in ways that benefit the team structure rather than needing to have it be all about him.
Dan, there's no secret that the NBA viewership has went down this season. It's down to like 20-something% or something like that. What is something that you think can be done to fix the NBA's viewers and make people still want to watch the regular season?
I don't know, put the game on Channel 5. Find a way to make it so that it's easy for people to tune in, as opposed to saying you got to go through 9 different apps and the regional sports network bubble is collapsing and yada yada yada. Or sending somebody out say the best thing for you to do is get an illegal stream someplace. So I think part of it is just meet people where they are. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is also no disrespect to anybody who on the national stage that talks about the league, but it seems like there's way more talk on the broadcasts about why this thing sucks than all the ways in which it's awesome. And a lot of that is, negativity is generally breeds more interest than positivity. Some of it is we're so used to talking about maybe a handful of players or a handful of teams that we're a little bit slow on the national stage to pick up on the next thing, the exciting new thing that's coming up. But to me, I look at it, granted, it's my job to be watching this every night. I'll find something fun to watch in every game. That's kind of the way I look at this. There's something cool to pay attention to no matter what game you're watching. But I think a little bit more of a concerted effort to say, rather than just going to that first level of everybody shoots threes and it's boring. All right, how are they getting there? Show me the offensive strategy. Give me the NFL matchup style breakdown of how this team is creating something that's worth paying attention to. It's not just everybody, because it's not just spread pick and roll, everybody fan out, and then somebody takes a pull-up. There's also how you get them passing out of the post. There's with the off-ball movement that you can create. There's stuff in transition. There's stuff out of different sets that people are running. And there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and I think it's easy to tell a story to a fan that's everything is homogenous and everything is boring. And there may be some truth to that. There's less post play than there used to be, maybe less diversity in some aspects of the offense in terms of how we're doing things. But there's also a lot of different ways that teams are trying to solve problems, and even more ways right now that defenses are trying to solve problems. And to me, I feel like you add that up with young talent from all over the place that are coming up. There's something to market there. There's answers, there's fun things to point out, there's fun people to highlight, there's fun stories to tell. Sometimes you just got to work a little harder to tell them.
Dan, good stuff, man. We appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us. Good insight.
Thanks, Dan.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Dan Devine did a good job covering the Cavs and an interesting perspective on it.
Shout out to Queens.
Forget Queens, man. It's Brooklyn. F Queens.
Harlem.
He was offended.
Shout out to Harlem.
That I thought he was new school.
And by the way, you would have been too.
Oh, 100%.
If he'd have been like, you're not really from Brooklyn, you'd been like, bullshit, yeah. I'm not from Brooklyn.
You know why I assumed he wasn't? Because he went to Providence College. And
you thought he's hoity-toity.
I thought he was, like a hoity-toity.
You ain't hard like me. I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
he's
right.
I'm from Harlem, man.
I went to SUNY Ithaca.
I didn't go to SUNY Ithaca. SUNY Ithaca is that's the snobbiest. First of all, Ithaca's not a SUNY school, and it's the snobbiest upstate New York school there
SUNY
is.
Brockport, baby, the Golden Eagles.
By the way, Mikey McNuggets is really one of the sneakiest chameleons in the game.
Oh, he is.
I
Definitely.
love it because he can claim Jersey, he can claim Texas, and Texas and Jersey it couldn't be two Like, he could be like, all right, I go to Emerson, small college
That's
town.
Massachusetts, that too.
Yeah, then
It's not a small college town. It's right in Boston.
Then it's like, oh, like, where are you from? I need to know what you are about, McNuggets. This is crazy, bro.
And Emerson's also like he was one
adapt.
of he was one of only like 42 straight guys in the whole
shapeshift,
campus.
man.
So that
McNuggets said
He's
a shapeshifter for sure.
You need a shapeshifter in your crew when
Big
you're searching for
time
girls.
McNuggets said it ain't about where you from, it's where you at.
If you lived in a couple of places, you can definitely like
Yes.
depending on where you're at, you can be like, oh yeah, like me. Okay, I was in Minnesota for like
Yeah.
Oh, I grew up in Minneapolis. Come on.
Your small talk game is on 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Your wine and cheese conversation.
Why y'all playing? I was just
we-
talking to some West Side people. And I was like, bro, I was in Cali for like 3 years. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
The only place I couldn't fake it was when I was working in Tennessee. No matter how hard I tried,
you're not.
they would never buy.
You don't have Tennessee written on you.
No, they wouldn't buy the fact. I was there for 3 years, but they never bought it.
We do have kind of
On
breaking
the dead
news.
homies.
Yeah, we got some news.
The DTR news?
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone but Brad report it yet.
Well, I'm giving
But Brad
Brad
is-
Stamos.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
on stuff.
He's an up and coming young writer in Cleveland, and
What's his sources? How does he get
he
this?
works for the
knows.
OBR.
OBR.
If you get
Orange
stuff
Brown
right.
report.
He knows
And
stuff.
Brad is reporting that DTR will be named the starting quarterback tomorrow. It's not a surprise.
I'm glad that they doing
But I'm going
it.
to give him a little props.
Yeah, no, he deserves it.
If assuming he's right, that he's got it. So
If
there
he's
you
wrong,
go.
we'll rip him tomorrow.
And does that mean that's the last of Jameis Winston you will see in Cleveland?
I don't think so.
No.
Well,
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't think it definitely means that.
But
DTR has never stayed healthy. For
Yeah,
two
first of all,
consecutive
Most likely
games
the
in his
last
career.
we've seen of him this year.
well, let me ask you this. I don't know about that because DTR.
He gets
I mean,
hurt
good
every
chance
other
he gets
game.
hurt in 3 games.
Well, you got
Who's the
Zappe.
backup? Is it going to be
Zappe.
Zappe or is it going to be?
It has to be Zappe.
Jameis.
It's
So,
Zappe.
do you think Jameis goes back to emergency third
Yep.
quarterback?
yes.
Yep.
Do, yeah.
Why? Hey,
Why? What do they
What's the
want
big
to see?
deal?
Bailey Zappe?
the last time they seen Bailey
Yep.
Zappe, he whooped us.
That's true. Wasn't that his only good game with the Patriots?
Just
Smoked us.
At home. Smoke show. Yeah, life comes at you fast. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I thought I would have said Jameis would have been
Y'all was
Perfect time for Sean King to come
Wait
on
a
tomorrow.
minute, y'all was talking about extend them now.
Don't let me in there.
Hey, hold on.
Extend them now.
Hey, hold on. Let's not get it twisted. This joke's still on us. Like we better stop laughing and see quarter. That means we ain't got nothing.
We gonna talk ourselves somehow into drafting Jalen Milroe.
What you mean?
I'm gonna put the kibosh on that right now. Tom.
Nah, listen.
This is gonna happen. The Browns gonna be like, you know what? We got our guy.
Hey, listen.
be like,
Yo.
Okay.
Hey, I'm down to see some Wildcats.
All right, guys,
All right, Mike, what do you
we
got?
may know who the quarterback is, but we got one more question we got to ask about the Browns. Then we're going to get a Didi on at 12:30. But it's that time of the year. Dustin and Tyvis are hyped about it. Bull, not as much. Gee, I know you're excited. The college football playoff is back, and it's a newly expanded 12-team format for the first time, and it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup between SMU and Penn State. That's at noon. Then at 4 o'clock, the Clemson Tigers are looking to upset the Texas Longhorns in a primetime showdown. Don't miss any moment of the action by watching the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and HBO Max.
Are you guys pumped for the college football playoff?
Hell yeah, I'm pumped for the college football playoff.
What do you think?
Sold my tickets, by the way.
You did.
I'm not going to sit in 20 degrees.
Smart. Real quick, who wins the tournament?
The tournament? I mean, the
Whatever.
natty?
Playoffs.
The entire
Yeah.
natty?
Who you got? No explanation. Just give me a team.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Damn,
It's a lot of brackets, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, just pick somebody.
It's going to be Ohio State or Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon or Ohio State, probably.
I'll go with Ohio State for the
You're going to bet
content.
on Ryan Day?
I'm going Ohio State just for the content.
I mean, they got
As long as the other team's not wearing maize and blue.
I mean, it's not like he has a good record in the college football playoff.
Well, I mean, he has that bad loss to Georgia where he
he's won one game. He beat Clemson. And got to Alabama.
got to the natty.
I'm
lost
saying
the
Georgia
natty.
wins it all.
With the backup quarterback?
Yes.
Good luck.
Georgia. Who you got? Get off the fence. Let's go. Don't tell me Oregon or Ohio State. Pick a winner. Let's go.
That's my story. Listen, I'm not going against my.
When do we become a show of fence?
When do I go against?
I will tell you this much. I'll get off the fence. It's gonna be a Big Ten team.
OSU.
That's still on the fence.
Not really.
Ohio State.
There's three out of the 12
Bucks.
teams.
You're picking Ohio State.
Yeah, I can't say.
Okay.
I can't say it confidently.
Let's go get off the fence.
Here's my prediction. Actually.
Yeah.
I think this would be actually pretty amazing. But Ohio State beats Penn State for the Natty.
Okay, Ohio State. Both picking
can
Ohio
see
State. G, who you got?
I got to look at something.
You're picking Ohio State also.
For the content, yeah.
Penn State's got easier roads to the Natty than Ohio State.
Ohio State got the
I don't think there's
toughest
any
road.
great team this year. I
I'm
don't think there's any great
stunned
team.
that I know the least by far
No, you picking
about
Georgia.
college football, and you guys couldn't be more lost in this situation.
Who are you picking?
This is Ohio. I just picked Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Who's their quarterback?
I don't know. I don't
Okay,
care.
good. Yeah, great.
The SEC's always better than the Big Ten. You know it.
Stockton.
You're going to pretend it's not the case.
I
It is.
want to know against them. So.
I don't like them.
Ohio State's had a
Did
couple
you
of
see
exceptions.
the interception Stockton threw when he was
Ryan
it was
Day
so- I just can't
is
buy
the
into it.
That
softest
kid's
head
not going to
coach.
win an. I'm sorry. I'm
with
sorry.
you. Who?
Georgia fans have wanted to write off their starting quarterback since it was
Who
Bennett.
is the backup? He looked good when he came in.
He
He
played
looked
good
good
for 2 seconds
Until the end, and he threw the worst pick of all time.
Whatever.
I'm going.
He was nervous.
I'm going
you
with Texas.
Texas. Okay. Bull, let me
I
ask you
don't
guys
see
a
it
question real
with
quick.
them.
This was making its way around social media yesterday. I decided not to chime in. I didn't see any of you guys chime in, so I'm curious on all your thoughts, but I'm not sure where it originated. So if someone put it out there and I'm stealing their question, I apologize. I'm not sure where it started. But would you give any consideration to sitting Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and any of the other veteran key contributors on this team for the final 3 games of the season to
Yes.
avoid any potential long-term injury that they may sustain?
Yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett needs surgery, I think, or might need surgery. Why would you play? I would not play Denzel Ward. I would not play Myles Garrett. There's no reason to play those guys. Why would you play those guys?
Because they're an athlete and they want to play.
Yeah, I mean
Denzel's had 72 concussions.
Denzel I would not play. I mean Miles, I don't know. It seems like I feel like he's on the cusp of getting hurt every game.
He's dealing with a million injuries. He probably wants to play because all he cares about right now is getting that 100th sack.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can't force him not to play.
Who does this come from? The only way they send him is if it comes from the owner, and because Kevin Stefanski, despite what I think people have been told, and Andrew Berry, if they come out here and look really garbage, it's going to be very difficult for Jimmy Haslam not to be the Duke of Knee Jerk or the King of Knee Jerk or the Sultan of Knee Jerk. He's going to just be out here just get rid of it. Like, I'm just serious. Like,
I get it. Players want to play, but the coach has got to make the right call.
But the coach is like, I mean, this really looked like giving up. Like, what?
But so what? The season's over.
They might not be here the next year.
If they lose the last 3 games because they sit Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, and that's the reason why Kevin Stefanski gets fired, that's stupid. It might be the case, but that's stupid. What is the upside to Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett playing?
3 less games of rust next season.
No, that's down. Oh, I'm sorry. For them to play, what is the downside or the upside of them playing? There is none.
The upside of them playing.
Myles Garrett gets 100 sack next year. What's
The upside
difference?
is that they help you win a game maybe, which hurts your chances for the draft pick.
Right.
Those guys don't care about that.
They don't.
But as an organization, downside is you might win a game and you might get hurt.
Right.
So you don't play them.
Do you think the Browns will win a game the rest of the year?
No.
Yes, they're gonna win this Sunday.
You think so?
No.
Just so I could come in here on Tuesday
no.
and look at you and say,
You can't say that with a straight face.
Yeah. No. Hey, and the worst thing,
That would eliminate the Bengals from the
and
playoffs.
like, look, I look at it like this: like Nick Chubb, he just got hurt, right? There's when you get hurt the last game of the season, now you done put your whole rehab all the way in the off season. It's like you can almost get fired.
Nick Chubb's probably not going to take another carry for the Browns, do you think?
"Whoa."
We said yesterday we think they'll bring him back at a minimum charge. Who's going to pay him?
I think he will.
But I don't know.
I don't know what the. I don't know.
If
what
I'm the Browns, I'm
effectiveness is
drafting
gonna
a
be.
young quarterback, a young running back, and I'm signing Nick Chubb to be my.
This is what
whatever,
you do.
my
Listen,
2.
man. This is what you do.
If the
This is what you do. All right.
Yeah.
This is what you do. All right. To kill all this, because this is what happened in San Fran. You go out there and you start those vets, and then about the second quarter, you pull them. That's about it.
Well, what is the point of them playing a quarter?
Because it's not looking like you just
Optics.
obviously going out
Who
there
cares about the
tanking.
optics? And
Again,
why would any
a lot
fan
of people
care?
do.
Well, they're idiots.
Again,
losers mentality.
Again, you have 3
So
wins.
what you do is you go out there, you play your starters for maybe a quarter or two,
Yeah.
and boom, they get out.
That's what you would do.
How do I know that? Because I lifted.
If you were,
I lived it.
If you were the coach,
My boy Sherm said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out here."
If I was the coach, I'd play.
That was hilarious. My boy Sherm say,
if you're the coach, you'd play.
"I'm gonna go out here and play a couple quarters, get ready to go."
The organization would have to call down and
Okay,
say, yeah.
but if I'm the owner of the Browns, Denzel Ward is not playing, and Myles Garrett is not
I
playing.
play a quarter or two.
I would not play
Get
them.
them on the body there.
Listen, if I was an organization, and I was Jimmy Haslam, I would call them all in office, the players. Hey, come in and talk to you, dog. Look, we don't know what's going to happen this offseason. We want to keep you healthy. I know you want a competitor and you want to play, but let's keep it real. It's hard for us to evaluate and trade you if we need to trade you, or keep you ready to go if we decide to keep you. You going out here getting these little meaningless stats is not going to do nothing for neither one of us. I'm just trying to keep it real with you, bro. So we going to sit you, post you up,
Yeah.
and we'll figure something out. Because, look, if they need to trade one of these dudes, think about this, and I don't want to just wish this on nobody. Think about Myles Garrett been playing all year. He pull up with something, and he has to have a major surgery. Now it's the first major surgery of his career, and he's older than he was.
Yeah.
Now you could have got 3 first-round picks for Myles Garrett. Now people is talking about, well, you may be able to get Myles for 2. We don't know if he's going to be back at the beginning of training camp or ready. No. I might need to move y'all around. No, you're not playing.
You trade.
But most
Miles?
guys want to play, right?
They want to play. That's great.
You
But
trade Miles.
Look, I wouldn't trade him personally, but
You have to trade him.
You might. That might be something you got to look at.
You have to.
Because he might come to you and say, you know what, I was just lying. This is terrible. I don't want to be here no more.
All right, then I trade him.
I mean, but there is, I think, either way, there is a 40% chance.
They probably won't trade him, but they should.
What are you getting? 2 first-rounders? You're not getting 3.
I mean, you're definitely getting for sure a first rounder.
You
I don't know
get
if
2?
you're getting. I don't know if you're getting 2. But if you get 2, great.
If you're trading him to a top team, which you would be, like say the Lions, can you imagine if you had Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson next year?
Crazy.
Detroit.
If you're Detroit, wouldn't you give up 2 first-rounders for him?
Probably.
They're going to be bottom 5 first-round picks anyway.
No. Here's what you do. If I'm telling you, you can
Yeah.
get 2 1s and a 2 from Myles Garrett at Dallas.
I would tell
And
Detroit.
From Dallas?
I would
Yes. Think about it. Dallas just signed Dak Prescott to a big deal. They had a terrible year this year.
He's from Texas.
He's from Texas. He
From
grew up
Dallas.
from Dallas.
All right.
They gotta pay Micah
and you
You
got
want to do that to you want to do that to Myles Garrett?
and you got Micah Parsons.
Well, he might
Are you
not-
serious?
He might not get paid.
Who?
Micah.
They'll pay him.
He just can't. Okay.
They don't pay any. They haven't been paying anybody lately except for Dak.
Listen,
No, they pay CD.
the clock is ticking on Jerry Jones, literally.
Yeah, I mean, like life.
Yeah.
Like, he's like 100. Do you want to keep playing these reindeer games, or you
They
want
didn't even sign a running back this year.
It don't matter. It's Myles Garrett.
Although
Dallas
playing well
played
now.
awesome.
Yeah.
Love that kid.
Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons throw the ball.
Yeah.
You can't. What are you doing? You get Dak back. You got CD Lamb back.
Yeah.
You still might even have DeMarcus Lawrence playing. That's nasty work right there.
All right, do
give me
it.
them 1s and 2 and that 2, and we can have a deal, have a talk. I might want to play or 2.
What you gonna do with the Browns though? Like,
with them picks?
yeah.
Rebuild the team that injury screwed up.
Now we got the pick this year.
All right.
We got the 2 1s
who
from
you,
Dallas.
Who you picking? What's your you got 2 first-round picks this year.
Well, you're not going to have 2 this year.
Do we want
If
them-
he traded them before the draft, yes, he would.
No,
Well, you're saying 2 theirs in the Cowboys.
Well,
Gotcha.
Like us and the Cowboys.
right. I
so
thought you
you-
meant getting 2 picks.
No,
from
yeah,
one
no,
other
no, no,
team.
no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got 2 number 1 picks. Now look, I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to go out there and grab no quarterback because I'm not using them picks to move up for them.
That Cowboys pick would be a top 10 pick also. They stink.
If you're the Browns, you trade Myles Garrett, you get 2 first-round picks, you draft the best left tackle you can, and you draft the best pass rusher you can.
You better get it right.
You build your
and if you get it right, then you're in good shape.
Yeah, you build your line. You're going to stink next year anyway.
Yep.
So you rebuild the lines. All these guys that are veteran players are going to be gone. You're not building for the future.
So let me
them.
ask you this. Yeah. Say you did trade Myles Garrett and they 2 1s and a second.
Yep.
Would you be willing to package that up to move up to number 1 in the draft?
No.
Okay. I'm just asking.
I would keep that. I would have 2 number 1 picks this year. I'd have 2 number 1 picks next year and a possible two twos. So what I would do is you got 2 number 1s next year. You sign Jameis Winston or whatever the case may be. You got 2 number 1 picks. Now next year, Arch Manning's in that draft.
Yep.
There's the kid from Tennessee in that draft, and you got the
Nico Iamaleava is in the
You traded Denzel Ward also.
Oh, I think about it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, potentially
that's Cleveland bread. Like you can't do that.
No, I get it, but I mean, the guy has.
What are you talking about?
Listen. So he's an aging corner.
Listen, hold on, wait a minute. This is where I draw
and
the line.
And he's on a decent deal.
No.
By the way, before we go to
nothing.
Aditi, did you see the news? What? Zeke Elliott signed with the Toronto Argonauts in the Canadian Football League.
They give him a big contract?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not.
I was about to
but you can believe it because that's how bad he is.
I say stop playing with me, man.
Let's get to Aditi here, guys. Aditi's interview with us is brought to us by the Game Time app. It is the easiest, most convenient way to buy tickets from your phone to any live sporting event, concert, comedy show, you name it. Game Time has great deals for it. Right now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite sporting events, shows, concerts, you name it, even easier than before. Game Time Picks is a new feature on the Game Time app that filters out the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. On the Game Time Picks feature, you can see a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game Time.
Game Time.
Now hold on. Now listen. When we get to that, I gotta ask her the question.
Aditi?
I gotta ask the question right off the bat, Aditi.
Tell them that they losers,
All right.
Aditi.
Oh, right
Tell
off
them
the
that
bat.
they got losers mentality.
For me, we was talking about it, and Dustin says they may not trade Myles Garrett, but if they are serious about a rebuild and think they need to rebuild,
They should.
They should. I've always been a proponent of it's hard for me to trade Hall of Famers, so I would be very hard pressed to trade him. However, if you are getting a haul back of 2 number 1s and a number 2 pick, how could the Browns turn that down given their current state?
You know what? I still don't think that you trade a guy that is a face of the franchise, a milestone guy. And you know what? You know exactly who he is and what he is. Those picks, how do you have any idea if those picks are going to pan out or not? Picks are picks. They're potential. They're not guarantees. Myles Garrett is a guarantee.
A guarantee of what?
He's a guaranteed game breaker. He's a guaranteed.
True, but you can't. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to combat this, but I
understand. No, but Dustin, I understand what you're saying too. And this team is in a mess because of Deshaun Watson. But now you rip up the whole entire team, and I should say that better. Not because of Deshaun Watson, because of the decision to give up as much capital and sink as much guaranteed money into a player that just never panned out to what they thought he would be. Yes, they are in a mess, and yes, they need to somehow fix that, but I don't think the answer is do a complete fire sale. Look, the Browns went through that when Sashi Brown was leading a team that went 1-15 and 0-16 and stockpiling the capital to then build a team that was indeed one that seemed that it could compete, and then they got itself in its mess with this whole quarterback situation. But I don't know that you now sign yourself up for another 4 or 5 years of barely winning games. I think you have to figure out what to do with what you have.
The only reason I'm with Dustin on this, Aditi.
Really? I didn't know you came around to this.
You see what I'm saying, Aditi? Losers mentality.
It's because of Myles Garrett's age.
I think it's a winner's mentality.
He's going to turn 29 next week. Like, most elite pass rushers are not good into their 30s. How many defensive ends
but since when have you looked at Myles Garrett and been like, most? Myles Garrett is a freak of nature. He is a completely different sort of body. Why? This is where when Tyvis talks about loser mentality. Yeah. Sure, you can say most are this, but what about the unicorns? What about the Reggie Whites? Like, what's to say that Myles Garrett, who constantly is talking about leaving a legacy unlike any other, who is clearly driven to be one of the best ever to do what he's doing, why are you ready to call him washed up at 29? I mean, look at the way that the guy is going out there every single week this year when he's been hurt since camp.
And you're right, by the way. Reggie White was good into his
actually
for a long time.
Actually, Michael Strahan was great into his 30s. Bruce Smith was great into his 30s.
Were they? Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Reggie White was. That's
Reggie
true.
White definitely was good into his 30s.
I'm not. Let's see. Bruce Smith was really good. He started tailing off. Yeah, mid-30s. That's fair.
Listen,
bringing the facts
later. But I'd still make the trade.
No, you would not. Aditi, listen, we don't.
I'm throwing a flag. I'm throwing a flag on that.
Where did she get that flag from? That was a great one. I like that.
We haven't. This is the rumor. The rumor is that DTR is the starting quarterback as of like.
That's being reported.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. Okay, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Let's say that he is the starting quarterback. What do you think we should expect? What should our expectations be for DTR against this horrible Cincinnati defense?
Okay, well, let's start with actually setting up DTR to succeed. So I don't want any of this nonsense like last year's Ravens game where he gets 2 hours notice on Sunday morning that he's going. I don't want any of the nonsense like the first Bengals game where he only finds out the morning of that he's actually the backup and not the emergency third quarterback. Actually prepare him this week. Actually let him take the first team reps. Actually let him work with the Jerry Judys of the world so that he's got that experience behind him. And yes, just start him. Just start him. You know what you have in Jameis. You know what you have in Jameis. Okay, it's like I said last week or the week before. Jameis keeps both teams in the game. He's fun, he's energetic, he's a great teammate, but come on now. What the Browns need to do in these final 3 games is figure out exactly what they have in who they have. So when they need to make these decisions about who to move on from, where they need to shore up the roster, where they have young talent that just hasn't had opportunity, you need to figure that out right now. And I'll tell you, all the best teams, even the ones that are competing for the playoffs, are still sort of thinking that way. You know, we had the Colts and the Broncos this past week. The Broncos are obviously playing for a playoff berth. And Sean Payton openly said about his running back room, before this season is over, we need to know what we have in Audric Estime and in Javonte Williams. Teams are supposed to be figuring that out as you go regardless. And now the Browns have a great opportunity here. Let's figure out what you have in DTR.
I don't think you have much, but yeah, I mean, at this point,
at
this point,
give him a chance, you know. But again, like,
no, you're right. You should play.
Weeks now, he's got 3 straight weeks to get every single first team rep,
right,
to prep like the starter, to go into. All right, so let's see what you have. Maybe what you see that you have is this is a guy that could indeed be a long-term backup for us, a really good backup. So. Okay, fine. Then at least you know that.
Yeah.
Then you're not going and getting a Jameis Winston as your backup, for example, which they had to do last year because DTR wasn't healthy. So figure out what you have in the kid.
No, you're right. It makes sense to play him. I think it also makes sense to sit Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett. Ward's has had multiple concussions. Why is that? They're not. The goal of the game is not to win.
What?
If the goal was to win, they would play Jameis. They're not doing that.
Wait, what? Really?
Don't you think Jameis gives them, as flawed as he is, a much better chance to win than DTR?
No, I don't think so. Again, remember, that Bengals game, there is a reason that the team had moved to DTR as the backup quarterback. They thought through the first however many weeks of practice that DTR and Jameis were so neck and neck that it was time to give DTR the chance to be the backup. I think that you believe Jameis is so much better when you just haven't seen enough of DTR to say that. Okay, that's fine. But I also, unless there's an injury situation, it's funny, and I'll bring you the Raiders. Max Crosby, I talked to him 2 weeks ago, and I was like, Max, the season is lost. And at that point, I think he had played 6 straight games of every single rep. And then in our game against Tampa Bay, it was the 7th straight game of every single rep. I'm like, hey, Max, how about like taking it easy maybe, conserving your body? And he's like, no, I'm not wired that way. That's not how I do it. That's not what I'm about. But now, finally, he's addressing this ankle that was a high ankle sprain way back in week 3, I think it was. Most people take at least a month for a high ankle sprain. Max Crosby took 1 week. Now, finally, it's like, you know what? The ankle does need surgery. I may as well get started on it so that I'm that much forward on the rehab. If you've got a situation like that with Myles Garrett, who arguably may be needing some sort of medical
I think he does.
function on his feet, maybe if Denzel Ward is dealing with something lingering, then okay. But I think just for the sake of, hey, we're going to tank? Hey, we don't want to win? No. That's not how you think.
No,
wait
a second. Hold on.
Off-season surgery, and you can start the rehab process sooner.
Yeah.
Then okay, that's a valid reason to shut it down.
Okay, so they both have had legitimate injuries this year. That's why I'm saying it. I'm not saying they're purposely trying to lose. I'm saying in my opinion, when you bring in DTR to see what he could be, in my opinion, it's clear that Jameis is the better quarterback and gives you a better chance to win. Now,
okay,
you obviously disagree.
No,
right?
yeah, that's your
fine.
opinion.
I'm just saying, if
I don't like you writing off the possibility of being able to win with DTR. Like, already, you can win. Giving the kid a chance, you're just like, nope, there's no way they're winning with him.
No, I agree with you. They should play him. I just don't think he's there gives them the best chance to win. But I don't care about that. For me, I understand coaches care about that. But I find it hard to believe that Kevin Stefanski was saying Deshaun Watson gave him the best chance to win early in the year. That obviously wasn't true.
Yes, but we all know that there's a whole lot associated with having to say that. And that's a whole other conversation that's not necessarily as linear as any other conversation. I'll say this. I really do firmly believe that the way you end a season can carry over into the next one. I remember Kurt Warner telling me about this with the Cardinals one year, and it was the next year that they went to the Super Bowl. Think about Dan Campbell, the year that they finally put it all together when they were 1-6, 1-7, whatever it was, and then they finally started winning. And then the last game of this season, the Packers are playing for a playoff berth, the Lions are playing for nothing, the Lions win, and that propelled them into this past season. So, and then this season too. I think that there is carryover, and I think ending on a high note, I think ending with some sort of strength is always a beneficial good thing, as opposed to limping into the offseason.
I think it also depends, though. I mean, for every example you just gave right there, there's a Jim Schwartz with the Lions, there's a Eric Mangini with the Browns, where they won the final 4 games, and you think it's momentum, and then you keep the wrong coach, and like just because you finish the season strong, I don't necessarily agree in the NFL as much maybe as a college or like high school it would carry over, because there's so much change in the league. It's such a business.
And that's fair too.
But I do think that, like, for the Browns, you know, a lot can happen, Aditi, in the final 3 weeks that could determine the outcome of these coaches and Andrew Berry in terms of how they finish the year. And to that point, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was also saying, and on top of that, I think it's really important to the franchise. Remember, Dustin, this is a franchise that's trying to get a new stadium built. Mm-hmm. And if you limp into the offseason and just look like you have no plan and no hope and no hype, how much energy are you going to be able to generate around that?
Oh, these fans are idiots. They love everything about this team. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And I'm an idiot. I live here. Okay, so like we're all idiots. We buy into this team no matter what. I mean, we'll eat whatever they serve us.
Yeah,
I mean it doesn't matter.
Garbage franchise.
That's why the owners take advantage of us.
Yeah.
You know, it's really funny that you say this, Dustin, because I think you guys know that my 5-year-old loves to tell everybody that she's a Browns fan. That she was born in Cleveland and she's a Browns fan. And this weekend I was in Denver, and the commissioner and his wife Jane Goodell were there pregame. They were recognizing the Broncos inspired change maker. And Jane Goodell and I were talking about how she grew up a Bears fan, and, you know, she still is a Bears fan. And I said, ooh. So then I said to her, you know, it's funny. I just had this conversation with someone who accused me of committing child abuse if I allow my daughter to continue being a Browns fan.
They might not be wrong.
And this person, well, okay, so this is what I said to her. So I said, this person said to me, you are setting up your child for a lifetime of heartbreak. Am I really an awful mother if I let her if I don't sort of dissuade her.
No, you're a good mother
Tina
because
Goodell.
rooting for a crappy team builds character in a child.
It's loyalty.
Okay, and that is
Yes.
exactly
It's loyalty.
That's what Jane Goodell was saying to me.
Yeah.
That it's those fan bases that Dustin is talking about. Instead of calling them idiots, Jane Goodell was saying it's those fan bases that suffer the heartbreak and keep coming back that are the most loyal people, the most dependable people, the most hardened people, and that actually it's building character.
Or
if my
Aditi, you
little
could be
Kaya
teaching your daughter.
continues.
Or Didi, you could be teaching your daughter to stay in bad relationships. I don't know about this one.
Damn.
There's always more than one way to look at it. That's for sure.
We thought that there was a chance. Let me tell you, the girls got sassed, though. We thought there was a chance that my crew was being sent out to Vegas to do the Jaguars and the Raiders. And so my son and my husband definitely were like, let's go to Vegas. Let's do that trip. And then it was decided that no, our crew would actually have the Bengals and the Browns. So I was FaceTiming home on Saturday, and Nico said to me, he said, so are we going to Vegas? Are we going to Vegas? And I said, no, buddy, Mommy's got Cincinnati. And he said, oh, well, who are they playing? And I said, the Browns. And Kaya, overhearing this, goes, go Browns. And I said, well, baby, it's not really been the Browns year. And Matt says, my husband says, well, that's okay. You can root for the Steelers. Or that's okay. At least we still have the Steelers. And Kaya said, Daddy, they're not in that game. So go Browns.
I like this. I like this child.
She got more enthusiasm than a lot of this fan base, you know?
Oh, she does.
Why would you have enthusiasm right now?
Well, it's a battle of Ohio. Like, we got Jamar Chase versus Denzel Ward. That's still must-see TV. There was a lot of chirping going on. Now, G knew it's not going to be there. So
unless you're G, who thinks that you should sit Denzel Ward.
Well, all three of them.
Like when you
all
think
three of them said it, Aditi. Losers mentality.
Yeah, Tyvis, think back to that game. What year was it? It was the Baker Odell year. So that was 2021. Was that year?
When Odell messed his or tore his hand.
Is that the DPJ game?
Yeah, so the week that Odell doesn't show up to practice, or he's told to stay home, his dad puts out the video. Look, he's always open. The Browns suggest that Odell go ahead and stay home. Yeah, that was 2021. And then Baker and the Browns go into Cincinnati, and the game opens with Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase. Denzel Ward picks it off in the end zone or at the goal line and returns it 99 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember
that.
And how'd the rest of the season go for the Browns
after? What you talking about is irrelevant. He said, how did the rest of the season go after that game?
Whatever, but sometimes you need those moments. You need those magic moments. So yes, Jamar Chase versus Denzel Ward is a magic moment. That's something fun. That's something to pull up to the stadium for.
I guess unlike you and Tyvis, I'm looking out for the careers of these players.
Well, Myles wanted
maybe
Hunter
Denzel
sack.
Ward and Myles Garrett will be able to play another year because they didn't play 3 meaningless games with injuries.
But what if he's going to get his Hunter sack this game?
So he'll get his 100th sack next year. What's the difference?
It's a big one. Daddy going up against Trey Hendrickson. You know, they like,
yeah,
you know.
Well, not against, but
maybe Joe Burrow will give him a Brett Favre moment.
That would be a disgrace. And Brett Favre's a disgrace. Joe Burrow is not. So.
Yeah, I don't see Joe Burrow doing that.
No chance.
What's the whole Batmobile thing? Am I allowed to ask him about the Batmobile thing? Like, why would you spend $3 million on a car?
I think he was joking.
He said he was joking, didn't he?
Oh, he doesn't actually have it?
I thought he said he was joking. I thought it came out like a couple days later. Said he said I don't really have that.
No, I mean all I know then is the whole thing about like the robbery at his house and the swimsuit model who apparently is living there, but was
he definitely does not want to talk about that, Aditi. I'll tell you that.
I know. Yeah. He was like, I feel like my privacy's been violated in multiple ways.
But that woman is supposedly a lesbian, so I don't know.
How do you know?
How did you know that?
I was reading about it. She supposedly works for him. I mean, it sounds fishy, but I don't know.
How do you know all those details?
I was reading about it.
Save him. Save him.
I don't know if it's...
Aditi, it's been a pleasure.
No, real quick, Aditi.
Guys!
Hey, wait a second. Seriously.
We gotta go.
Seriously, I want to know. I'm sure you'll talk. I mean, I don't know. But I'm fascinated because Joe Burrow last week, he strongly talked about how the Bengals have to sign T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And he has not put his foot down like that at all since he signed his deal. Like if I'm Joe Burrow and they have to sign Chase. They should sign Higgins. But if they don't sign if I were him, I'd be like, you're signing them both or I'm getting out of here. That's what I would do if I were him.
Well, it sure seems like it will be very interesting. And yes, I definitely do want to talk to T. Higgins about that and to Joe Burrow about it. Why it was so important to him to publicly say that.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see how seriously Mike Brown and company take that.
Yeah.
And if that really matters to them. You'd like to think that they want to keep their starting quarterback happy.
All right. Aditi,
and look,
thanks.
that offense is meant to have 2-star wide receivers.
That's right. We'll watch you on the game this Sunday, 1 o'clock. Aditi will be a part of the broadcast, of course. We'll see you later. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Your winner's mentality.
Winner's mentality. She's got a winner's mentality. By the way, man, they mentioned on the broadcast last night, it is just absurd that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson were on the same team in college. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
They're the 2 best wide receivers in the NFL. He's the, I don't know, somewhere between 2nd and 4th best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, it's insane.
It's probably a reason why Coach O was able to win a national championship.
Yeah, right.
And then he gets fired like 2 years later.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I heard he was doing
What time you want me going? And
By
what door you want
the
me
way,
out?
By the way, McNuggets, I didn't already thought, like, this DTR thing, I think we thinking about it the wrong way.
Oh, man.
It didn't came,
Aditi
as Aditi was talking about it, I was like, man, what better way to come up with some propaganda than to do this? What if the Browns was just like, you know what? We've been seeing DTR for a minute. We just ain't been able to pull the trigger given our current circumstances. What we gonna do? We feel like we got something here. We feel like we got our Brock Purdy, and we're gonna name DTR the starter this year. He gonna play these 3 games, and then after the year they're gonna say we not looking at quarterbacks. We got our guy for 2025. We got DTR rolling the whole season. We gonna give him a season to show what he got.
If you're the
and if they do that, think about it. It's great propaganda because it gives you an out on Deshaun Watson. It gives you no reason to have Jameis Winston back. And DTR is somebody that they can reach and people can say, well, at least there's some hope, Dustin. Let me see what this kid can do.
I mean, sure, he's got the worst turnover touchdown interception ratio in the history of the sport.
No. We're gonna see. We have not prepared. We're gonna see.
It's a reach.
We are going to see what DTR is in 2025. We got confidence. We're gonna put some stuff around him, and we're gonna give him a whole year in the offseason.
I promise you one thing. I will not be sitting in this chair for another season of football if DTR is a starting quarterback. Oh,
God.
Well, I'll
find a different. And we got some super chats.
I'll find a different gig.
Yeah, don't worry. I mean, he's gonna percentage chance he gets through the season without getting hurt.
100%.
100.
There's a 50-50 chance he doesn't make it through this game Sunday.
50-50.
100%. He's going to be healthy.
It's about maybe 40-50%.
I give him a 7% chance of getting through the rest of the season.
I don't feel great about it either. Okay, super chats. Halim Youssef says, G and Bull trying to rewrite Kevin's quarterback history is wild. His offense has consistently put them in positions to win until the administration changed it.
Where's these numbers? Where's these stats? Where's these Pro Bowlers at, bro?
What did we say that was unfair?
Where's these Pro Bowlers at? Like, where's these?
I keep hearing Kevin Stefanski, and I've been, again, a big Kevin Stefanski defender, that he gets the best out of his quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield played his best football in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco played his best, not fair, but he played his best football in Baltimore.
And we found out that he throws the same amount of interceptions as Jameis Winston.
And Jameis stinks.
And Jameis throws picks.
And DTR stinks. Okay, Jacoby Brissett played better here maybe than anywhere else. Congrats. That's quite the accomplishment.
Did Nick Mullins win a game here?
Yeah.
I don't care about guys who played one game.
Nick Mullins lost the Raiders game on Thursday Night Football.
Lost the Raiders, yes.
All right, next super chat. Yeah. Christopher Waits says, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson have a combined 3 wins against the Steelers. Baker Mayfield on his own has 3 wins and hasn't played him in 3 years. Baker wasn't the problem.
Hey, hold on. Our job is not to be the best team that beats the Steelers. We want to win championships.
That's an embarrassing
take. Stop telling me about the Steelers.
That's an embarrassing take. Baker Mayfield has obviously played well.
32 touchdown passes, man.
He'll probably lose early in the playoffs because he throws too many picks.
Next super
You
chat.
can't win with a guy these days with a guy who throws too many picks, and he throws too many.
No, you can't. I don't know.
He's playing well, though. I give him a lot of credit.
You have to give him credit.
He's
I give him a lot of credit. But he was never going to play this well.
He got
He's playing
32
really well.
touchdowns. How many picks on the season?
I never was the
12 or 13.
I never was the
terrible.
Baker dude that when he went somewhere else and played well, I was like, I'm just gonna keep hating him. I'm like, nah, bro. He's balling. He was balling.
But I give
He's
him
going
credit when he was
to end
selling.
the year with damn near 40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's having a good season. Is he going to make the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Who doesn't?
Who in the NFC is better?
Tyler Huntley.
We can figure that out tomorrow. We got super chats. Next super chat, Brody's bottom line Brody's bottom line says if the Cavs can get Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets,
That's
they're going
impossible.
to the finals.
What?
Yeah, it's impossible. They don't have the assets. They don't have the assets for just Cam Johnson by himself. Next one, Corn Pop Converse says, grab Ashton Genty and Cordis Rourke from Indiana in the later rounds. Get a new run game coordinator, fix the running game, bring back Chubb. Don't rush to play Rourke until the run game improves.
Well,
Rourke's going to be a mid-round pick, so you can get him later.
Yeah.
Genty's going to be probably a second-round pick.
I'd rather Dylan Gabriel.
I don't like his height. I don't like his height requirement.
I don't like his slow release,
Got to
man.
move the pocket,
And
man.
he look like he'd be pushing the rock, man.
Now, if he could,
That's
now,
Kevin
now
Moore.
listen, if it come out 5 years from now, he that dude. I want y'all to rewind this clip.
And he done
We
played
got 3
17
more.
years.
By the way, in my opinion, Baker will be the third quarterback on the All-Pro team behind Jared Goff and Sam Darnold, believe it or not.
On All-Pro?
Pro Bowl.
No,
Pro
he's not
Bowl.
going to be an All-Pro.
You said All-Pro.
Lamar?
I'm sorry, I meant Pro Bowl. Darnold and Baker will be quarterbacks 2, 3 in the Pro Bowl. And Goff, even at 1, was a guy who had been kind of little bit
Lamar,
rich.
All right, we got 4 more super chats.
Go
Ray
ahead with the
Smith
super
says, I
chats.
apologize to
Let's
all
go.
the Baker bros.
We're going past 1. Let's go.
If I'm just telling you, we got to get in. We get cut off on the KYC app.
All right.
Ray Smith says, I apologize to all the Baker bros. You're allowed to love whoever you like. Don't let me crush your dreams of gaining his love and administration, which I don't think he meant to say. I think he meant admiration, but he put administration.
Don't know where that was going.
Spell check.
Damian Frederick has 2. He says, keep Miles, draft Abdul Carter, pair him with Miles, Mike Hall, McGuire, Alex Wright. Have a good D-line for now and the future. Draft the running back, upgrade the offensive line, run the ball, rush the quarterback in 2025. And he says you might as well say, F it, start Phillip Walker. Shout out to Tyvis.
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I saw him at a Kroger the
We
other
won
day.
some games.
Yeah, he was slicing the meats.
We won games. That's all I'm saying.
Always.
He's a winner.
Last super chat
Winner.
comes from AO is the 1216 who says Kevin has never had a top 10 offense and has been top 2 in penalties multiple times. And those are your super chats of the
That's
day.
it. Are we doing overtime?
We are
What are we doing?
previewing the NBA Cup championship game tonight.
Can't wait for that. Coming
Do
up
you
in
care?
60
We'll tell you.
seconds.
Yes, I do.
Overtime.
Mike, you'll tell me who's playing.
That's terrible.
You know-
Milwaukee.